structure, on funding, that will meet the goals of this City Council, not only to establish a film commission, but really to promote filming in Los Angeles and expand the industry instead of seeing it shrink as it has in the past decade.
Thanking Mr. Alarcon for his motion and suggesting there are a number of things that need to be done, Council President and District 13 Council Member Eric Garcetti talks about the possibility of having a film czar and offers examples of resources available in Los Angeles.
Really, there's three things we need to do, colleagues. We need to market our filming both externally and to our own residents internally. Secondly, we need to make sure that Film LA, when they run into any problems with the city bureaucracy, has a counterpart here that can help navigate that bureaucracy with them and alongside them. And third, we got to have an advocate, somebody who can continue the work that we've done at the state, for instance, to get $1 billion, which Mr. Krikorian, who's soon to become a seatmate next to you, Mr. Labange, tomorrow, did a great job with at the state level to get $1 billion of tax credits for film that comes back to California. These are the sorts of things that we need to have a unified voice and a powerful voice. We have the strongest set of talent anywhere in the country here in Los Angeles. We have retired film executives, union leaders. We've got people who are advocates today who, through their volunteer time, can be a powerful voice to not only advocate for those legislative changes and those administrative needs, but to make sure that people know, come back to where it all started, here in Los Angeles. There is no place like it. And I think for a lot of folks who might have been looking at filming in Ohio or filming in North Carolina, all you needed to do was turn on that TV set and look at the Rose Parade and realize when you had 75-degree weather here, perfect sunlight, dramatic sunlight, there's a reason why LA is where films really blossomed. And it's a place where they need to blossom again. And I fully support this. One last thing people will say, and I know Mr. Alarcon mentioned this before, in tough times, how can we do this? We'll do with existing resources and with volunteer help.
We should always have our doors open. That's according to District 4 Council Member Tom Labange, who says there are businesses throughout Los Angeles that serve the film industry. It's not limited to just the Hollywood area.
Here, and I strongly support this commission concept, whatever the factors are. I strongly support getting voices to do that, to advocate for this opportunity, because it is an absolute competitive world. It used to be there were only labs, you know, south of Santa Monica Boulevard that could produce and do the development of the film. Now that can be done throughout the world. Now the computer is here, which does change it. It's a very challenging time, but at the same time, we should always have our doors open. Because as Abe Stein once said, a rock's a rock, a tree's a tree, go shoot it in Griffith Park. And that was some 70 years ago as the emerging film industry. So I just wanted to stand to thank you, Mr. Alarcon, and your staff, who put together this program of many, multiple offense that you created that hopefully will be as successful that we could win the challenge of bringing the industry back into the live wire that we want it to be. And Mr. Garcetti, as always, I thank you for your leadership and partnership as adjacent to us. I think most of the major motion pictures, whether they're in our district or right across the street from them or across the LA River in the Burbank area, are very important to all of us.
Thank you. That matter is now before us. Colleagues, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Very well.
And joining us now is the chair of the Jobs and Business Committee, District 7 Councilmember Richard Alarcon. Councilmember, welcome back to Council Week in Review.
Always a pleasure.
Relatively new committee that you're chairing. Give us a little background. What's the committee for? What are you doing?
Well, it's the Jobs and Business Retention and Development Committee, and essentially we're focused on creating jobs. But this year, our President Garcetti has added a couple of functions to it that I enjoy, and one is the responsibilities to oversee the Film LA effort and filming in general, and also the Master Plan to End Poverty has been incorporated into this, which means that it now is part of a standing committee, which will make it more permanent. So for both those reasons, I was very pleased to take on this committee.
And of course, when we talk about the film industry, that would, I imagine, also include film, television, and the other visual entertainment aspects that are emerging with the new technologies as well.
Absolutely. In fact, entertainment industry, because it's the Jobs Committee, it's very broad. I'm not just focused on film industry, but since we have a problem with one-rate production, that is a particular focus at this time, and I wanted to send a quick message that we were focused on it. But in general, we're looking at other industries as well, everything from logistics to nursing to whatever we think we can contribute to in terms of creating new jobs in Los Angeles and stimulating business.
Well, of course, we wanted to spend a few minutes talking about the Film Commission and the industry that will be covering. Those combined industries in the past have contributed, of course, a huge amount of revenue to the city of L.A. and to the Southern California economy. Past 5-10 years, that revenue has decreased substantially. What happened? What went wrong here?
Well, I think, first of all, the economy in general has created financing problems throughout the business community, and so that is one issue. But frankly, the runaway production issue has been a problem since the early 90s, and while we've taken steps to diminish that, there are many reasons why it has continued to be reduced in our city. One of the reasons, there's more competition out there. The technology has been simplified so that the investment into the technology to establish filming opportunities is very small compared to what it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. And so other cities and communities across the world have been able to make that investment and are now competitive. So I think we have to step it up quite a bit to compete against all these interests. And not that we don't want them to do filming. I think there's a certain synergy involved in all these people doing filming, but we have to claim our share.
And by talking about runaway production, as you pointed out, it's been some decades that's been an issue around here. It sounds as if you're saying we're never going to get back the full market share that we used to have, but at least we ought to be getting back into a larger market share than we have today.
Yeah, I don't think we wanted to claim the full market share because, as I said, there is a certain synergy involved with getting the whole world community involved in watching movies. I mean, we want them to watch movies in Hollywood, and to the extent that their filming industry is doing well, that means that their people are watching movies, which means they're watching Hollywood films as much as they're watching anybody else's films. So no, it's actually a good thing. What we want to talk about is growing the pie, not proportioning the pie, and growing the pie. In that growth, we want to claim a greater share than what we've been getting.
And as for now, at least, I guess it's been left up to the city's legislative analysts to come up with the best way to develop a film commission. But what is your vision? How large should the commission be? What would the membership come from, and things like that?
Well, you know, frankly speaking, the CLA will be tasked with literally writing the report, but we're directing that composition. And what I would envision in working with the council and the mayor's office is a commission that would be comprised of 7 to 9 members, people who would essentially be cheerleaders for the industry, both internally and externally. And what I mean by internally is it's not just the external forces to bring film into Los Angeles, but our community has to have a greater appreciation for the film industry in terms of its impact, its economic impact, and the fact that our quality of life is benefited because of this industry, and we want to enhance that with the hundreds of thousands of jobs that are impacted by this industry. We want to recognize that. And so essentially the Film Commission would be a marketing tool, developing a marketing plan to outreach to different communities, different producers, wherever they may want to go, and pull them into Los Angeles because we have the wealth of resources, the workforce, and the infrastructure to manage their programs better. And with the new effort that we have stimulated, the 19 recommendations on October 7th, the idea of a film commission, we know the mayor is going to be proclaiming something very shortly. All of these efforts will essentially embrace the film industry to say, hey, we want to do work with you. Let's sit down, let's work, let's see what you need. Do you need tax reductions? Do you need particular care for individual shooting opportunities in our community? Do we need to expand the film locations in Los Angeles, make it easier to film at those locations? What is it we need? Let's work on it. We want to be your partner because you have been so good to our community.
In addition to the incentives that you just talked about, and then have also, frankly, lured a lot of the production away, one of the great iconic visions that we have when we see film production around LA, commercial TV, movie, whatever, are long snaking cables everywhere. And I think you have some ideas for how to make the electrical side of the house work a lot better and be a lot more convenient for producers.
I never really thought of it in those terms, but yes, we're actually, one of the recommendations that we made on October 7th was to establish what we call nodes in City Hall, the Department of Water and Power, and a particular section of downtown, where where the film industry, essentially when they're filming, can plug in instead of having to move massive generators to the sites, and in doing so, it makes the operation not only better, but less invasive to the community and blocking traffic and those kinds of issues. So that's just one idea. In addition to that, we've asked Department of Water and Power, we got a very positive response from Water and Power, to allow the land under guide wires to be used for film shoot, parking, and other machinery, and they've already freed up that opportunity. And in fact, they just have been using that operation for some of their shoots already, and then working with the certain locations to see if we can ameliorate some of the issues that arise in difficulty in filming. We're also, the mayor has met with all the general managers. I'm personally meeting with each general manager in my committee to ask them to tell us what they are doing to ameliorate some of the concerns. Let's move forward. Let's improve our processes each year rather than point the finger of blame at any particular entity or any particular function. If everybody does a better job, I think we can have great impact.
And when you talk about things like fee waivers and tax reductions, I mean, the question obviously comes up, wait a minute, we're in a brutal economic environment. We need the revenue here in Los Angeles.
Well, and the best thing I can point to is the fact that the Business Tax Advisory Committee that was comprised several years ago emerged with a series of tax reductions that actually increased the revenue we generated by almost, I think it was $60 or $70 million. So we believe the same thing can happen, and we have reinstilled the idea of the Business Tax Advisory Committee. We trimmed it so there's only 9 members, and we've also told them that instead of having to come back with a report in 18 months, if they have a good idea, send it on to us immediately. My committee will consider it and move it to council and take action on it as quickly as possible. Included in their responsibility are 3 motions that were referred to them by my committee that have to do with the film industry specifically, and we hope that those will be expedited in the process. But in general, the Business Tax Advisory Committee generated more revenue before by reducing taxes. We believe the same thing can occur. There is a balance there. We want to be careful, but I think our goal is to increase revenue by reducing taxes if you can follow that logic.
Well, we remember the Laffer curve, and of course that did lead to a lot of people disagree, but it led to a lot of prosperity, so the economics could be right there. You mentioned a few minutes ago Film LA, and of course before that we had EIDC, and there have been a lot of attempts like this in the past. Why do you think that this Los Angeles Film Commission will be successful now when we've tried so many other opportunities in the past to stop runaway production?
Well, first of all, I was the chair of the Public Works Committee when we created EIDC, and the responsibility for the film permitting operation was under Public Works, so I was very intricately involved with Mayor Reardon in establishing EIDC. I think it was a very effective tool. Obviously some mistakes were made by the executive director, but the idea was good. Film LA is an amazing organization that has been very helpful in our permitting process, expediting those permitting processes, and working with the film industry to improve their coordination with the community. They are separate and apart from the Film Commission idea. The Film Commission's idea is marketing. So what I'm saying is we haven't put all the places, so it's like having a one-legged stool. The film LA could not do it all. We need a couple of other legs on that stool to make it whole. One of them is the Film Commission, I believe, to promote marketing, to promote the industry, and to make it appreciated more in the city of Los Angeles and externally, so that more producers will want to film in Los Angeles. And then hopefully there'll be other elements that are added to it that shore up the stool to make it stronger, and with a good foundation, we think we can lure more business back to LA.
In an op-ed piece that you wrote, I believe for the Daily News, you said when you get into a cab in New York, you will see a message from the city of New York explaining why it is you should do your filming, do your production, do your business in New York City. If such a thing were to happen here in LA, could you kind of pull the whole thing together that you've been talking about for the past few minutes? What would your message be if you get that producer in the back of the cab riding out of LAX?
Well, you know, frankly, I'm not sure that taxis, taxis are much more concentrated in New York than they are in Los Angeles. They're used differently, so that may not be the vehicle. But whatever. In Los Angeles, if we're talking about targeting producers and directors out of LAX, for example, then the message would be that we want to work with you. We will work with you personally, individually, but with an understanding that we have the strongest workforce, we have the most talented and diverse set of infrastructure available to you, and tell us what your needs are. Let us compete, and we think we can compete on a higher level. A second message that we have to promote out of the Film Commission is with the community. Our community needs to appreciate the benefit of having high-paid workers, 108,000, I believe, that are directly in the industry, and then for every one of those, there's a multiplier of 2.7 jobs that are impacted by that, which means that just about everybody in Los Angeles is connected to this industry in a way that it improves our quality of life. I think we've lost that image and that connection to Hollywood that we used to have, frankly, when I was a kid. Everybody seemed to understand the connection of Hollywood and how it benefited Los Angeles. We sort of lost some of that. I want to rebuild it. And then thirdly, we want to reach out across the world, literally, to pull productions that are happening in other parts of the world back to Los Angeles and compete with these communities that have developed their own industries to some extent. We don't want to take away completely because, as I said, I think there's a synergy in that. But at the same time, there are some films that are going abroad and going to other states and even to Canada that should be filmed here.
Very compelling numbers. Before we let you get away, something we've talked about before, Hanson Dam, the project that's been going on there. Any updates on the Children's Museum that you've been working on?
The Children's Museum, we're trying to focus on an opportunity that's emerged recently. There's a Discovery Science Center in Santa Ana that does a phenomenal job, and we've initiated some conversations with them. I've just come from a committee meeting internally to get us to focus on that opportunity immediately and to see what comes out of that. If we could partner with the Discovery Science Center in something for the Children's Museum side, I think it would be a phenomenal opportunity for the city of Los Angeles, particularly for the people of the San Fernando Valley, with something that is well established, a revenue-generating operation that meets the needs of that operation, and solve the problems that emerged with the Children's Museum organization. I believe it's something that we can do. It may take a little bit of time, but if everything runs smoothly, we may have an opportunity. We're also reaching out, by the way, to the California Science Center to see if there's some opportunity for a joint operation or something that they can contribute in the way of exhibits or other expertise. But we're not giving up on the idea of the Children's Museum. We think it's viable. We think we can do it, and we have seen some interest expressed by these parties.
We look forward to updates on the project. Thanks so much, District 7 Councilmember Richard Alarcon. Thanks for joining us on Council Week in Review.
Take care.
You can listen to City Council meetings as well as committee and commission meetings on the telephone by using the city's council phone system. In the downtown area, dial 213-621-CITY. In West LA, dial 310-471-CITY. For the San Pedro area, dial 310-547-CITY. And in the San Fernando Valley, dial 818-904-9450. Just follow the recorded instructions for the meetings you want to hear. And we invite you to address the Los Angeles City Council on any item on the council agenda, as well as during public comment. You may come downtown to City Hall or go to either the Van Nuys City Hall or the San Pedro City Hall and participate via video teleconferencing. And you can watch all Los Angeles City Council meetings live in their entirety on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays beginning at 10 a.m. On Sundays, you can watch the replay of all the week's meetings, also beginning at 10 a.m. Council Week in Review can be seen Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Well, that concludes our program for the week ending January 8th, 2010. On behalf of Michael Flynn and everyone here at Channel 35, I'm Jack Popejoy. Thank you for watching, and please join us for the next Council Week in Review.
It's our duty to serve veterans and military families who serve their country in the most difficult ways imaginable. Together, we can say thank you in so many ways. Small acts of kindness mean more than anything. With our support, veterans and military families can face even the most difficult challenges. Let's honor their service with ours.
In the big online world of computers, there are a lot of little things you need to look out for, like viruses that can slow down or damage your computer, or spyware or pop-up ads that are not only annoying but can pose a security risk. But you don't need to feel small and helpless. Use an internet firewall. Update your software often. Use antivirus and anti-spyware programs, and never open email attachments from someone you don't know. For more information, visit staysafe.org.
LA City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
Good morning, Los Angeles, and welcome to the City Council meeting for Tuesday, January 12th, 2009. We're here in the John Farrell Council Chamber, room 340 of City Hall, where we meet every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. I want to welcome those members of the public who are here in council chambers, as well as our friends who are viewing us on Channel 35, which broadcasts each of these meetings through the city's cable system each Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and rebroadcasts us in the evening as well. For your convenience, we're available through a couple other ways. One is through the internet at lacity.org, where you can catch live streaming webcasts of our council meetings and past archive footage of our past council meetings. We're also available through the telephone by calling 213-621-CITY. That's 213-621-CITY, service called Council Phone, which allows you to hear not only the full council meeting, but any of our committee meetings as well. I want to thank those council members who are here on time. We have a quorum established, so Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. First order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Mr. Smith moves and Ms. Hahn seconds. Without objection, those will be approved. Next order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Reyes moves and Mr. Labange seconds. Without objection, those will be approved as well. Next order of business, please.
This is Tuesday, and there's a flag salute.
If I can ask everybody in council chambers to please rise for our Pledge of Allegiance. And Mr. Krikorian, would you be kind enough to lead us in salute to the flag, Mr. Krikorian, today?
Thank you, Mr. President. Please join me in paying respect to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. If we can go to the agenda, please.
First items on the agenda, items 1 through 6, are building and safety liens notice for public hearing, and the department reports that item 3 may be received and filed inasmuch as the ownership has changed.
Okay, without objection, we'll receive and file that. We have no cards on the other items. Anybody wishing to call those special? 1 through 6? If not, let's go ahead and open the roll on the balance. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items.
Items 7 through 10 are street lighting districts notice for public hearing. Council should continue the hearings and present the ordinances on February 2nd.
All right, without objection, we'll go ahead and continue those till the 2nd and present the ordinances. Next items, please.
Items 11 through 18 are items for which public hearings have been held. Items 11 through 13 are commission appointments. Do you wish to hold those on the desk?
Yes, please. Let's hold the commission appointments on the desk.
And there should be 12 members today. Do you wish to hold item 14? the
Yes, we're still awaiting, I believe, Mr. Alarcon, Mr. Weezer. Mr. Parks is here, if we can clock him in. And Mr. Rosendahl, if you'll join us as well. Mr. Wesson is out today, but otherwise we will have 12 members. So as soon as we have one more of Mr. Alarcon, Mr. Weezer, or Mr. Rosendahl, we will take up the ordinance. The other items are 15 through 18. Anybody wishing to call those special? 15 through 18. If not, 16 for Mr. Zine. That leaves us with 15, 17, and 18. If nobody wishes to call those special, let's go ahead and prepare the roll on those three and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Items 19 through 30 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration. And for the record, community impact statements have been submitted on item 29 from the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council and from the Coastal San Pedro Neighborhood Council.
Okay. Thank you for both of those. And we will hold 20 for 12 members. There's no objection to considering these items there before us. Do we have cards from the public on any of those?
Yes, Mr. President. There are cards on 21, 22, 29, and that's it for the section.
Okay. We'll open and close the other public hearings. Mr. Labange?
Very special.
Okay. Mr. Zine? 23 and 24 for Mr. Zine. Other specials? 25 for Mr. Smith. If there are no others, we will go ahead and take up the balance. If we can please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. If we go to the supplemental agenda, please.
On the supplemental agenda, item 31 is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration, and there is a card on that.
Okay. We'll call that special for the card and also for Mr. Alarcon as well. Wishes to call that special. We do have 12 members. If we can take up the ordinances that we held, items 14 and 20, please. Let's go ahead and open the roll on 14 and 20. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. If we can go next to the commissioners and then come back to public comment as per our practice here, that would be items 11 and 12 and 13.
And the first one, item 11, is the appointment of Dr. Nazar to the Disabled Access Appeals Commission.
Dr. Nazar, if you'd like to come forward. And Mr. Labange, if I can recognize you as chair of our...
Members, Dr. Nazar is a passionate, multi-talented individual, has a variety of skills in his background in education, and he's a great nominee by Mayor Villaraigosa. He's joined by his family here. So I'd like to ask, Doctor, if you could tell us your passion, why you could make a difference in this body.
And if you don't mind just moving the microphone a little closer, thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. James Nazar, and I'm a chiropractor. Today I'm pleased and honored by my friends and family members supporting me in this nomination. My special thanks and gratitude goes to the Mayor, Antonio Villaraigosa, and staff nominating me for this position. I'm humbled and honored to be sitting in front of full council members to be confirmed for Disabled Access Appeal Commission. I would like to introduce myself. Around 1987, I came to the city of Los Angeles, and around 1989, I started my chiropractic education. Since then, I lived, worked, learned, obtained many credentials, got married, have 2 beautiful kids, and pursuing their happiness at this time. I started my general colleges and then pre-chiropractic college in Los Angeles Valley College. I did my chiropractic school in Los Angeles College of Chiropractic. I did my JD program, Jurisprudence Doctor program, Abraham Lincoln University School of Law, Los Angeles, California. I did my postdoctorate in law, master degree in law, international taxation, St. Thomas University, Miami, Florida. I'm a real estate broker, and I am a certified radiography and X-ray supervisor operator from State of California Department of Public Health and Human Services, and I'm independent medical examiner for the State of California Department of Disability. There are many elements that I can think of that I can be in helping this position. Examples are my education, my background, and my experience. I believe my education hand in hand, both in law and healthcare, can be an important tool to hear, analyze, investigate, conduct research, and apply all findings to get as close as possible to fair resolution. My background in healthcare for 15 years, from patient evaluation to patient discharge, and my ability to communicate in 4 different languages enable me to have broader experience not only to healthcare, but also to make friends. My experience generally made me more to be reliable, loyal, trustfulness, responsible, given, and fair. I don't take on any issue if I believe deep down I would not be able to handle it. I know that we're not perfect, but I do my best and use any available resources from research to friends in order to get as close as possible to address the issue at hand.
This nominee is outstanding. He's also joined by his wife, Diana, and Sebastian, his son, stand up there, and another baby there, and the mother-in-law. Give them a big hand as well right there. They're very proud. And also his pastor from his church has joined us as well. So, members, I ask for an aye vote with someone who can contribute greatly to this commission to deal with these challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange. With that, we now have the nomination before us. Thank you very much for your service. If we can please play the roll on the nomination and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Congratulations, Commissioner, and welcome
Thank you very
aboard.
much. Thank you.
If I can ask next Mr. Sanwari to come forward. And I'd like to recognize again Mr. Labange as well.
What's your chair? Thanks so much. This is another fine example of a nominee of Mayor Villaraigosa. Mr. Sawari is dedicated, is educated, is committed to his neighborhood, lives in the 12th district, as a family man, has experienced much in life. And if you could tell us your passion, why you want to serve on this Human Relations Commission and do a good job.
All right. I'd like to thank the Mayor Villaraigosa for the appointment, as well as Councilman Tom Labange. My passion for serving on the Human Relations Commission comes from a few areas. One, I have a lifelong service in healthcare and working with interfaith communities to continue to build collaborative relationships through the city of LA. I have a master's in public health and have lived in the city of Los Angeles for over 30 years. Having done that, I think that there are significant challenges that still remain, and I look forward to working with the Commission to help address those challenges, to better understand and build relationships with various communities of racial, ethnic, religious backgrounds, as well as appreciating the differences and the diversity that the city of Los Angeles brings. Working to resolve those issues, as well as dispelling any myths, any types of misunderstandings, learning and being able to serve for the city of Los Angeles and the Angelinos that reside here.
Thank you very much. It's a graduate of Van Nuys High School, Cal State Northridge, and his master's work at San Diego State.
Yeah.
And the mascot, they used to be the Aztecs at San Diego State, but I don't know if they're still the Aztecs.
They are the Aztecs.
The Aztecs still, okay. And
How about the other two schools?
Matadors at Northridge and the Van Nuys High School Wolves. But
All right, good job. Tom Labange, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, strong aye vote.
All right, with that, let's go ahead and prepare the roll on this nomination and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Unanimous approval. Thank you very much, and congratulations. Our last nominee is item number 13, and that's Ms. Shabazz. If she'd like to come forward. And I'd like to recognize Ms. Hahn, I believe whose committee this went through, Trade, Commerce, and Tourism.
Oh, good job, good job.
Thank you, Mr. President, and we welcome Ms. Shabazz to Council this morning. We heard her nomination in Trade, Commerce, and Tourism last week. She's been nominated to be Commissioner for the Convention Center Authority. And colleagues, Ms. Shabazz has an amazing resume. She has an amazing background. We enjoyed hearing her perspective on our convention center, and we unanimously supported her confirmation as Commissioner to this authority. I might give you the opportunity, Ms. Shabazz, just to say how you believe your background and your incredible opportunities that you've had, how do you think that will help you, and maybe some ideas about our convention center.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hahn, representing my district.
Yes, that's right.
My name is Shahida Shabazz. I am a graduate of Harvard Law School. I recently relocated to Los Angeles, and I believe that as an attorney with experience in real estate and business law, and also as someone who can very vividly recall her first impression of Los Angeles, I believe that that will be a unique perspective that I can bring to the Commission, since we are, the Convention Center is a tourist-generating facility. It's also a jobs engine, revenue-creating entity, and so I think that my experience will be a unique one, and I look forward to working with the Convention Center and continuing to stay in the black, to stay off of the general fund, as we like to say, and be an asset to the city and the County of Los Angeles.
Thank you very much. This is our resident photographer / council member who is capturing this moment for history. But again, I really want to thank you, Ms. Shabazz, and again, you are a resident of Harbor City.
Yes.
In my district, and I want to thank you for agreeing to be one of our citizen commissioners on the authority board. It is a big responsibility, and we thank you for taking the time to do this. We think that the best days are ahead for Los Angeles, for our convention center, and for bringing tourists and tourism back to this city. So thank you for what you're going to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Labange, the aforementioned photographer.
Thank you very much. I just want to say, Ms. Shabazz, thank you. Ms. Hahn said it all. I'll just add a little. Make the integration between LA Live and the Convention Center happen in any way possible. It really is a dynamic new facility with a great facility of the expansion of the Convention Center years past to try to find a better opportunity for everybody to have an experience worth repeating. Congratulations on your appointment to this commission.
Thank you.
Thank you both, Council Members Hahn and Labange. With that, we have the nomination before us, and as well, thank you for your service. Let's go ahead and prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Unanimous appointment. Congratulations and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you. If we can return now to our general public comment. This is for items that are not on today's agenda, but nevertheless under our city's jurisdiction. Richard Kearns is our first speaker. 2 minutes per speaker, and we have a clock to help guide your time there at the podium. And after Mr. Kearns will be Michael Hubman. Good morning.
Good morning, President Garcetti, distinguished council members. Happy New Year, everybody. A month from today, I'm going to be meeting with about 30 of my colleagues up on the 27th floor here, sponsored by Councilmember Rosendahl and the LA City AIDS Office, in the LA City Grassroots Elder HIV/AIDS Advocacy Summit and New Media Training. Our aim is to get people up and working on the internet, and people that are older tend to be a little resistant to that. What we're doing is taking a stone soup approach. We don't have $1 zillion worth of equipment, so everybody brings a little bit. Good morning, sir. Welcome. So what our intention is to post from scratch on a website at the conference our proceedings. We're, for instance, asking area high schools and journalism classes in college to send photography teams to help cover this and build the website so that we all have experience doing this. I'm very excited about it. I look forward to working with everybody and letting you know more about it. Elder HIVers already know what to do. We just have to get out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Richard. Michael Hubman is our next speaker. After that is Dr. Clyde Williams. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Michael Hubman, and I am a member of a medical marijuana collective, specifically Arts District Healing Center. There are 134 remaining collectives who have come forward and cooperated with the interim control ordinance. If you look at the proximity maps, every one of those would be forced to close because of their proximity to sensitive locations. Where would you have them move to? Another look at the map shows precious little places where they could go. Some district maps have none of these little blue slivers. Where there are sectors that are not proximity sensitive, that doesn't mean that there are retail locations located in those little slivers of sensitive land. I would like to suggest the ordinance that you are crafting include a citywide good neighbor variance provision. This does not mean that a pass on proximity regulation restrictions, but a process where good neighbor collectives could apply for a good neighbor variance and remain in place. A community review process could be used to evaluate the suitability of locations that might be eligible for a good neighbor variance. We are breaking new ground with medical marijuana. There is nothing that has gone before that indicates that collectives that should be considered to be pariahs. It's my experience that my collective has provided me with a place to find society and community with my fellow collective members. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Clyde Williams is our next speaker. After that is Patrick Wiseman. And just give it to one of the sergeants at arms and make sure to take that. Thanks. Good morning, Dr. Williams.
Good morning. Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Barrett Road, El Sereno, Northeast LA. What is the difference between public involvement and public participation? Right now, during the next 6 to 8 weeks, there will be a series of meetings held by Caltrans. This is public involvement. They will allow us to hear what they're doing but they will not allow us to participate. We are not allowed to comment. We are not allowed to submit comments regarding their SR 710 North Extension Tunnel project. They do not allow public comments. Therefore, it's not a public participation. Meanwhile, there's a series of meetings that will be held beginning on the 23rd of January at Occidental College that will explore public participation regarding the 710 North Extension project. This will be open to the public. It will be open to everyone who wants to participate in the discussion of the 710 and where it's going, how much it's going to cost, and why it should not be done. Difference? How many jobs will one project of $8 billion generate compared to, the multi-mode of 1,000 jobs of $4 million each, which will benefit Northeast LA and the surrounding communities. The 710 will not benefit Northeast LA nor the surrounding communities. It only benefits the Port of Los Angeles, and we don't want it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Patrick Wiseman is next. After that is Deborah Stevens.
Good morning, Councilman. Patrick Wiseman. I'm going to pick it up where I left off a few days ago when I said that we got to get the greenhouses from underground to put them above ground. And what I meant about this is about transparency. You guys, you're going to be voting for something. You need to know, okay, everything that's going on into these cannabis plants, the pesticides. You need to know, okay, the quantities. You're going to start regulating it pretty soon. If I wanted to sell cookies tomorrow, just chocolate chip cookies, I would have to go through probably a year of health department approval about the sinks and about the floors and about the bathrooms. How can you guys let cookies and gelato and brownies be sold, okay, without protecting us? Do they have rats in those houses? Because they have to go underground. President Reagan, did a program of amnesty, and he wanted to bring people out of the shadows. So did, McCain and the late, Senator Kennedy. They wanted to take the 20 million, know who they are. Do they have criminal files on them? For them to pay taxes. What you guys have to realize, is that it's not too late to let state law run the land. If you guys are going to be going forward with this thing, we need to know, what's going on. Even the authorities need to be able to see those greenhouses. So I think tomorrow it's going to be a big day for you guys. It's okay, Mr. Weezer, if we go ahead, and we back out of it. If there's something that you guys have seen, and you think, it's the wrong decision because you created a facade of retail, outlet with the illegal supply. Black marketing goes hand to hand with crime. You get rid of black marketing, you'll get rid of the crime. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wiseman. Deborah Stevens is next. After that, we'll go out to Van Nuys and Donna Pearman. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, council members. I have in-depth knowledge of planning rules and the associated LA municipal codes due to my employment at California Home Development. The City of Los Angeles urban planners located the various zones in specific areas for the best interest of this city, for their vision. But the path you are heading down with the medical marijuana ordinance is losing sight of this fact, and you are going to be spending a lot of time tomorrow. And so, I know that your intent is good, but your focus is much too narrow. You should not give precedence to the medical marijuana dispensaries, most of whom are tenants, over the existing property owners of City of LA who have by right allowances for their specific zones. In particular, you know I have been speaking about the agricultural zones that not only have LA City by rights, but also have federal law protections. In particular, LA Municipal Code 12.26E and 12.26E2 discuss the certificate of occupancy rules regarding agricultural uses. As an active member of my community, it is my opinion that the neighborhood councils throughout the city that represent their specific districts are concerned by what has occurred in this city due to the medical marijuana ordinance. The existing medical marijuana dispensary system has seen the location of the dispensaries randomly throughout the city. In my opinion, many locations are inappropriate and disruptive to the existing retail establishments establishments. As has been publicly said before, one is nearby Councilman Alarcon's district office. This goes against the order that the urban planners sought to achieve in this city. Since cultivation and distribution should be on site to allow appropriate law enforcement, additional zoning allowances would have to be extended to those retail establishments, which I believe by the law would constitute a taking of the existing by rights of the agriculturally zoned properties within the city of LA. In addition, to extend agricultural use permits to retail zones may, in many instances, not be in the best interest of the existing retail establishments that are struggling to survive in this weak economy. There already is a zone in place for the cultivation of plants in this city. It is inherent in the zones of RA, A1, and A2. In all fairness to the residents of this city, if changes are going to be made, the LA City Council should hold hearings regarding any additional current city zoning and planning laws changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Donna Pearman is next. She's in Van Nuys. We'll go out there. Good morning to you. And Mervyn Evans will follow here in Council Chambers.
Have a worry about terrorists, and one reason why we should be able to have the right to carry, if you wish. Our UN and our own government are as much to be afraid of. It's wrong to put a full body scan at Los Angeles airport. Our CIA and FBI are not doing their jobs, letting those who need to know who's on the no-fly list, letting important information who needs to know it. They're not letting them know it. Our government is turning Los Angeles into a totalitarian state. The UN wants to make the international gun ban. That gun ban does affect Los Angeles. We will have a one world order, a one world government. Gun ban for honest, abiding citizens. Terrorists and crooks won't follow that ban. What's the difference? Since they kill, they might as well go against that ban. We need all seats of government, U.S., state, city, county. I ask the City Council to stop that full-body scan, putting pressure on the public, making it impossible to travel, and very embarrassing for females. The planes get enough delays for connecting flights. I see mayhem, confusion. City Council needs to say no. And our CRA needs to stop taking extra money. LA Dot is having big problems. Taking away the dash bus on Northridge will make it difficult for people, and there's the buses don't run that well. Anyway, and thank you for not taking Commuter Express 573. That bus is very needed. Thank you. Our city is in trouble. Stop overspending and giving our money to the CRA. Our city council needs to stop using all our money and give the city employees their jobs the way it should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pearman. Mervyn Evans is next here in Council Chambers. After that is Noel Weiss. Good morning, sir.
It's a pleasure to be here back at City Council. Let me share with you this morning I contacted Senator Boxer, Senator Feinstein, Barbara Lee, Chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus, Diane Watson, and Maxine Waters. Senator Harry Reid's irresponsible remarks cannot be rewarded. He needs to go. What I'm deeply concerned about is an article yesterday by Sandy Banks in the LA Times, in which she implies that District Attorney Cooley and City Attorney Tatanich are using race-based misconduct in our criminal justice system. The LAPD, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, our county fire, our city fire, all hire tremendous number of people of all colors. Any notion that there's race-based misconduct by one of the largest employers in the state of California, the city of Los Angeles, must be responded to. Council President, I would hope that you'd let the LA Times editorial board know that race-based misconduct or race-based selection for employment purposes is something the city of Los Angeles does not believe in, is something that we believe is part of the past and not part of the future. I welcome all our good residents of the city to get a copy of that letter we sent to Washington, D.C. at evans2010.info. Thank you, Mervyn Evans, and it's good to be back at Council again.
Thank you, sir. Noel Weiss is our next speaker. After Mr. Weiss will be Zuma Dog.
Thank you. Good morning, Council. The core question any leader, I keep saying this, but maybe somebody will listen. Core question any leader has to make is when to lead and when to follow. Classic example of leadership, Watts Gang Task Force. I want to thank Carmen Chutanich for showing up yesterday. We talked at the task force about the importance of the gang injunctions, which get people getting off of the gang injunctions. He's definitely behind the idea. His people are behind the idea, and it's important for people to understand that that idea started in the Watts Gang Task Force. And the mother of the Watts Gang Task Force is Janice Hahn. And I think the fact of the matter is that Deputy Chief Gannon was there, the sheriffs were there. The bottom line is the chief and the law enforcement people in this city recognize the fact that the Watts Gang Task Force saves lives. And you're not going to read about it in the LA Times because it's too much positive news for them to report. Only the negative news we hear from them. Secondly, what we're talking about, I passed around to every council member an article from 2005 talking about the decision that the San Diego City Council was confronting back in 2005 as to whether to declare bankruptcy. I'm not saying the city should. I'm not saying the city shouldn't. But what we need is an open negotiation, ladies and gentlemen. We need an open negotiation, not behind closed doors. When this council does business behind closed doors, the result is not good. Whether it's billboards, whether it's marijuana, it doesn't matter. We need to have the negotiations with the public, with the unions up front. That means the council maybe having an agenda item every Friday for 30 minutes, bring in the experts, inform the public, and I think at that point in time you'll begin to get the kind of input that you need because this is really a crisis situation. The only way that we're going to basically get out of this is to appropriately and competently engage the public. So I'm hopeful and optimistic that perhaps the council would adopt this idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Zuma Dog is our next speaker. After that is Michael Carrion.
And I have some very important information to deliver. I need some support to show that it's not just my voice, but also my good friend Matt Dowd, who supports me on this.
Mr. Dowd, if we could ask you to just sit down you can be right there next to him if you don't mind, but you can be right next to him, right there in the second row. But if you
Stop the clock, please. Stop the clock until
please
it's
clear
resolved.
that. Mr. Dowd, that's our clock to control. Would you please sit down, Mr. Dowd, just for a
Look
second?
what's happening here.
We'll
Look what's happening here.
Mr. Dog, if you'll please lower your voice, you'll have your time, and I guarantee you that, but please do not start disrupting the meeting. And if I could very politely ask you, sir, Mr. Dowd, if you won't disrupt the meeting, please, and just sit down right there. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Here.
So as not to block the view.
Sit down and hold my hand as I speak.
Mr. Dog, your time has started now.
Yes, okay. I'll hold his hand as I speak to show the unity. Now, I'm here to deliver the most important information ever in the history of the city of Los Angeles. And if I could please have your attention. Now, yesterday I attended the Quality and Productivity Commission meeting in City Hall East, and CAO Miguel Santana, who I feel great about as CAO, who knows all the answers, delivered a devastating report to the Quality and Productivity Commission. And to summarize it, I'm here to tell you the economy is dead in the water. He said every time he thinks the economy has bottomed out, the new report comes out, it's worse. It's dead in the water. And what I'm here to tell you, City Council, is there's no leadership. Nobody is at the controls. You have people dead at the controls. We need somebody in this city to stand up. We need, okay, I call for Councilmember Koretz and Councilmember Denizine. I've discerned that those are the only two possible leaders. If Krikorian would like to join them, he's new. We need recommendations from the CAO and the Quality and Productivity Commission as far as what to do specifically. Right now, action must be taken. No more time for conjecture or belt-tightening talk now. And I'll continue and wrap it up. Again, these reports must be delivered, and the first thing that will happen is that the Human Service Department will be eliminated entirely, and to wrap it up, pension reform.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dog. Michael Carrion is our next speaker. Thank you very much, Mr. Dog. After that is Desiree Coty.
Take action.
Good morning.
Thank you. Once again, Happy New Year. Glad everybody had a great time over the holidays. Unfortunately, there were a few families in my community that didn't have a good time. You see, they're still rat infested. 4 months already I've come to Mr. Reyes. In 4 months, his ego is so inflated that he's not going to do what he needs to do just so he gets a satisfaction of not getting it done. If his ego continues to grow, his head's going to get like Jack in the Box. And one day he won't be able to take off his shirt. They won't know that day's here. I've come to this meeting for a few years now. I've seen 4 votes on liquor licenses,
2 went to women, and Mr. Reyes approved them. 2 went to men, and Mr. Reyes denied them. Mr. Reyes brought in the police department to prove how bad selling liquor in the area was. One was a mom and pop store that you took their property away from them to build on the Metrolink. And Mr. Reyes brought everybody in and their grandfathers to prove how bad it was. Yet a woman came to him and he gave her 6 exemptions. Exemptions from a school, a church, a high school, a kindergarten school, an elementary school, and God knows what else. I asked myself, what did Mr. Reyes get in return? A big headache. I'm tired. I've asked his office to clean this property. That's it. If he does not clean this property, I will come back and I will dig up all the dirt I have to. I am going to speak what I have to speak, and Mr. Reyes is going to have to sit there and deal with it. His office said they were going to do it. It's been 4 months. And all he said is that, I'm disturbed. I'm not disturbed. I'm pissed off.
Our next speaker is DJ Coty.
Good morning, Council. DJ Coty, Council District 4. I come before you this morning because I know tomorrow you will take up the medical marijuana ordinance again, and I'm encouraging you to move in the direction that you were at the end of last year, which is looking at the individual planning areas and drafting zoning that will work for those individual corridors. I think that it's a good approach. It's exactly what San Francisco did. They realized there that what one neighborhood wanted and needed was different from another neighborhood, and they took that extra time and energy to draft an ordinance that reflects the individual characters of the neighborhoods and commercial corridors, so I encourage you to do the same. The other thing is, if you hadn't seen over the weekend, we had a return of property happen with a patient who is a director at one of our area's dispensaries. The judge has ordered 60 pounds of cannabis returned, and that was a transportation issue. I know that was something that this council was concerned about, whether or not we were putting any undue jeopardy on collectives or patients by having patients transport, but we do have now a case that sets precedent. It is okay for patients to legally transport their medication. I look forward to working with you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That will close our general public comment today. We will be reconsidering 5, but before that, Mr. Labange is asked for number 30 out of order without objection. We'll recognize Mr. Labange for item number 30. Absolutely.
You from the
chair. All right. I'm there in spirit with you as well.
Mr. Weston at home on Channel 35. Hello, Herb. Hope you feel better. Members, I'm joined today by the Consul General of the Republic of Germany, Dr. Jae-Soo Kim.
Not Germany.
I know. Okay. I said that this morning because I was moving so fast, so I apologize. I have here those representing the Republic of Korea, and I've been moving too fast and trying to keep the agenda going, so I apologize. Let me start all over. I'm joined by the great councilman of the 1st District, Ed Reyes, Mr. Garcetti, as well as Mr. Wesson. We're here to celebrate Korean American Day in Los Angeles. Years ago, there was a small wave of immigrants who came, under 8,000, to the shores of the United States to make their life better. Thanks to the reform of the Immigration Act of 1965, opportunity opened up for people around the world. And the people of Korea have found the United States a great home. A great home in the United States where over 700,000 Koreans live in Los Angeles County and the surrounding areas that make a great impact on our community. From the first market that was at Jefferson in Vermont to now the dominant commercial leaders of the Wilshire Center area, the Korean Americans have made a great impact on our lives. We salute them here today on this very special day with this proclamation on all the many good things from business, from culture, as well as from sports and activity. And I could say of many events that I've been, that the very great cultural performances always are certainly a tribute from the great 15th District, which borders the state of California on the shoreline, Janice Hahn and the Korean Friendship Bell, which is right there pictured for everyone. I'm joined this morning by the Consul General of the Republic of Korea, Jae-Soo Kim, as well as Chang Lee, the chairman of the Korean American Federation of LA, and Dr. Sang Park, who's the president of the Korean American Federation. I'd like to ask Mr. Reyes to speak from remarks. I will say Kamsahamnida Chingu, I will say Hanyo Seo, and I'll also say Neo Bio, because truly it is tomorrow this day, but we celebrate it here this morning. First, Mr. Reyes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. It is a real pleasure to be here, an honor to be able to recognize the great diversity of this city and to honor the Korean American community for all of their contributions to this country is truly a privilege. In my district, I've had the pleasure of working with many Korean American leaders. As an example, some of the churches have played incredible roles in how they improve the quality of life in the city. Youngnak Church comes to mind. They are one church that essentially has delivered in many different levels. The Boys and Girls Club in Lincoln Heights, Lincoln High School, the areas around Northeast have truly benefited from their compassion, their contributions, and have raised the standard of living for many young children. If it were not for this community, we would not have access to educational and recreational opportunities. So go, again, in a real way, we see this contribution. I want to thank you for what you've done for the city of Los Angeles, and every ethnic group that makes up this great city should stand together and join in honoring and celebrating what the Korean American community has done today. So it's an honor to make this Korean American Day. Thank you very much for everything you've done.
Thank you. And Ms. Han, if I can call on you as well to say something.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I wanted to rise and thank Council members Labange and Reyes for highlighting Korean American Day, which is actually tomorrow. And want to say welcome to our Council General, Mr. Kim, Mr. Lee, the Chairman of the Korean American Federation, and Dr. Park, the President of the Korean American Federation of LA, for being here today and celebrating Korean American Day. We have in Los Angeles and adjacent cities over 700,000 Korean Americans who have made this their home, the largest concentration of Koreans outside of the Korean Peninsula. And that is so important because you have become such an important part of the fabric of Los Angeles, of California, and certainly, I believe, one of the greatest symbols of our friendship between the people of the United States and the people of the Republic of Korea is our friendship bell, which we see there, which is located in San Pedro and was given to the United States in 1976 to honor our bicentennial. And that bell is rung 4 times a year. It is rung on July 4th. It is rung on every September to celebrate our Constitution Week. It is rung on on New Year's Eve. And we were there this New Year's Eve at midnight. It's broadcast live to Korea as we welcome in the new year. And yesterday was the first time that we rang this bell to honor and recognize Korean American Day. So I think that was a great way to kick off these festivities. And again, the Korean Americans are such a part of who we are and such a part of our society and have meant so much to us in so many areas. We can't imagine our life without the involvement of the Korean Americans in our everyday existence. I want to always say, as we talk about Korean American Day, and as we talk about ringing this bell, all of us wish and hope and pray for a peaceful unification someday between North and South Korea. We hope it will be in this decade, but we hope it will be this year in 2010. So thank you for being here. It is our honor to celebrate Korean American Day here in the city of Los Angeles.
Thank you very much, Ms. Han.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to ask the Council General to speak. Council General Kim.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Han, and thank you, Mr. Lavonji, my hiking buddy. We go to Christopher Park all the time together, and thank you, Mr. Reyes, for honoring Korean American Day. As Mr. Han just mentioned, yesterday I went to that event honoring Korean American Day. We had an event at French Bell, and I was really impressed, and I'm honored to be here. Okay, I appreciate all the city, Los Angeles City and council members, and thank you again. And God bless Korean American and Korean American Day and City of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Council General.
I'd like to have the Chairman, Cheng Lee.
Thank you, Councilman Labange. You've always been our friend. Councilman Reyes and Councilman Han. And welcome, Councilman Kerkorian, to the City of Los Angeles. Good morning, Honorable Council President and distinguished council members. On behalf of 2 million Korean Americans living in the United States of America, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone here for making Korean American Day a reality. It is truly an honor for my community to be recognized by all levels of government, city, state, and federal. On behalf of the Los Angeles Korean American community, I would like to take this opportunity to let you know that as Americans, we continue to strive to fulfill our civic duty. We have joined the armed forces to protect and serve our country. We contribute to the economic engine and continue to both live and contribute to U.S. history. As Americans, we celebrate the founding of our nation on the 4th of July and thank the civil rights movement for further contributing to the vision of our forefathers. We know this because we care. And we care because we have pride in our nation and cherish the freedom and equality it provides. However, while Korean Americans have been in the United States for a little over 100 years, a majority of my community is still first and second generation immigrants with strong ties to our own language, our own style, our own food, and most importantly, our own issues. It is often difficult for many in my community to communicate and voice our opinions, both figuratively and literally due to the language barrier. Additionally, if you didn't grow up here, there are more challenges and often incredibly difficult to get the full American experience. But this is America. It's not home to just one ethnic group, but belongs to a mosaic of ethnic communities. It embraces and welcomes all groups, colors, and creeds. I hope that together we can be that opportunity and voice, not just for my community, but to all minority communities. There's nothing I want more than to see Korean Americans continue to thrive in the U.S. I do not want to feel like an outsider. I do not want my fellow immigrants to think that they left their homeland to come live in a country that does not care for them. Martin Luther King once had a dream, and I belong to a country that fulfilled that dream in less than 50 years. I too have a dream for my community. I challenge each one of you here today to see Korean American Day not only as a day of celebration, but as a day to remind you of the continuing struggles of all immigrant communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, we have the President, Dr. Park, for very brief remarks.
Okay. Happy New Year. I'm Sang Park. Okay, wrong, the announced. I'm a president of Korean American Foundation, Los Angeles. Honorable Los Angeles Council members and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate that you have us attend the Korean American Day Proclamation Ceremony 2010. 107 years ago, the first Korean immigrants came to America for working as laborers. The Korean American Day is for recognition of tremendous contributions that Korean Americans have made to America over a century period. Now, we all of Korean Americans want to work for America's prosperity like our Korean American ancestors. We want to give this legacy to our next generation. We would like to share Korean Americans' cultures with all Americans in the United States of America. Last Saturday, January 9, we had a Los Angeles City cleaning event as citywide cleanup for 2010 Korean American Day celebration in coordination with Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. We have worshiped to God for America and Korea and the world. We want to be a good people in America. Korean American Day allows us to celebrate what we have accomplished over the past century in the United States. In doing so, we recognize from where we began, who we are, what we can do for America. Also, Korean American Day is Thanks Day. We Korean Americans love America. I'm sure that America is our country. We love the great city, Los Angeles as well. I'm so proud of living in great city, Los Angeles. God bless you. May God bless America. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And that's why we say together, we say 감사합니다. We say this together, 감사합니다. 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 감사합니다.
Thank you very much, Dr. Park and Chairman Lee and Consul General Kim. It's an honor to have you here, and thank you very much, Council Members Labange and Reyes, for helping push that motion forward. Now we have to vote on it, so let's go ahead and open the roll, and close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. If we can please open the roll in reconsideration of number 5. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is reconsidered. Mr. Saltz, Harvey Saltz, are you here, sir? If so, I'd like to invite you to come forward to the podium. At this time, we can just have folks move away from the podium to clear the way. And we're happy to hear your comments this morning on item 5 being reconsidered for your card. Please.
Thank you. First of all, this is 6 years after the fact, and I don't know if there's a statute of limitations on this enforcement, but certainly one should apply. I've been a little prejudiced, and most of my records are no longer available to me. I will say that any claim that there was ever graffiti cleaned from the property is absolutely false, because there was never any graffiti on that property. That property is in a residence area where there's the cheapest house is over $1 million, and that neighborhood has never had graffiti and never was cleaned. Allegedly, there was brush clearance or something like that for $600. I don't believe that was done either. If the city paid this money to some contractor, they were defrauded. I have a duplicate check here for $242 that I paid to the city of Los Angeles just 6 months after this alleged cleanup, and that was for brush clearance. So there was brush clearance on the property around the house, but I paid that $242 in April of 2005. So in November, nothing was done. I don't know why I have this bill. It should not be paid by me, and it shouldn't have been paid by the city if it was. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments on this item in Council District 10.
As a matter of housekeeping, my notice was to appear at 200 North Spring.
Yes.
And then I had to walk completely around the building. I have a crippled foot, and it was somewhat painful, but I had to walk completely around the building to 200 North Main. Perhaps you should change your notices.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, and we appreciate that, and that's one of the reasons we're more than happy to reconsider that, and we appreciate your comments. Does anybody wish to be heard on item 5 today? No, it's in Council District 10. If there's nobody who wishes to be heard, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay. Thank you. If we can go to the next item, please.
Item 16, called special by Councilmember Zine.
Okay, Mr. Zine, item number 16. We want to take that up with 23 and 24. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and take those up together then, please, and I'd like to recognize Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. On those three matters, this deals with a recent court decision regarding bulletproof vests and body armor bulletproof vests. In 1997, North Hollywood Bank shootout,
and I was at that scene, that violent shootout, where two individuals held off the entire Los Angeles Police Department and the community of the city of Los Angeles. A tragic situation took place that day in 1997, and the individuals who were involved in that bank robbery at the Bank of America were wearing bulletproof vests. They basically held off the entire Los Angeles Police Department until the SWAT team responded from the police academy and neutralized the situation along with the suicide of one of the individuals. As I stated, I was at that scene, at that shootout, and it was a very frightening situation where a number of people were shot, including police officers. Thank God no one was killed during that incident. A law was passed in 1998 by the California State Legislature, and that law prevented anyone who was a convicted felon of wearing a bulletproof vest. Well, lo and behold, the wisdom of the court recently found that that was not constitutional, and what we're calling for is the Attorney General of the State of California, Mr. Brown, Jerry Brown, to take that forward, and he's agreed to do that. So what this calls for, these three motions, that we support that measure, that hopefully the appeal to the California Supreme Court will overturn that measure and, again, make it safe for citizens of Los Angeles, including police officers. I see no reason why an individual who's convicted of a felony crime would want to wear body armor. The particular situation where this individual challenged it, he was arrested and convicted for a felony, a voluntary manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, and he was wearing an armor vest at the time he was stopped by police officers, City of Los Angeles. In addition to that, we're requesting in number 23, motion on item number 24, that the city attorney be requested to prepare and present an ordinance prohibiting violent felons from possessing or wearing body armor in the City of Los Angeles. Do that in the interim so we can protect our police officers and protect the people of Los Angeles. And I think this is a very logical approach to bring safety as much as possible to our dedicated men and women of the law enforcement and protect people from individuals who want to commit crimes. And I want to also acknowledge my fellow colleagues that signed on to this, and I think all council members would support it. But we have an idea that this would make it safer, that this court decision be overturned by the California Supreme Court, and that we support Jerry Brown in his endeavor to bring back reasonable sanity and not permit felons to possess bulletproof vests or body armor. Mr. President, that's my request, and request that we would move on that.
Thank you very much. We have Mr. Koretz as our next speaker. We have that motion before us. Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I appreciate Councilmember Zion, Councilmember Smith, and their work on this and working together with them on it. This case was struck down because it was found that the definition of body armor was too vague. I think that was a clear wrong take on the part of the judge, so it makes sense to file a friend of the court brief to try to get the right result through the appeals process. The other two items, one is a resolution in support of clearer legislation, which would make it easier, a clearer definition of body armor, which otherwise is known as a bulletproof vest, and in the meantime doing an ordinance for ourselves to cover us while we're going through this legal process. So hopefully we'll pass all three of these items. I think we've done a good job with these three measures in covering the issue, and I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. We have one speaker card. We had a public hearing, but Mr. Zion, you wanted to reopen that public hearing for
this was waived through the committee, I understand, Mr. President.
Not item 16. We had a hearing, but that's on item 16. But
and
Don
also
Schultz.
Chief Moore's here, if we can hear from him from the police department.
Let's hear from Don Schultz real quick and Van Nuys, then we'll hear from Chief Moore. Mr. Schultz?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would happy to defer to Chief Moore if you wanted to speak first.
Don't worry, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, council members. And what may be one of the most dangerous and irresponsible decisions ever made by a judicial body in the state of California, the Second District Court of Appeals has recently overturned an 11-year-old law that barred certain violent, convicted felons from possessing body armor. Only one judge, and this is my hero, Justice Justice Richard Aldrich dissented from this poorly thought-out decision, which kept the vote from becoming unanimous. He was quoted as saying, "Who are we trying to protect here?" To fully understand the ramifications of this decision, I know Councilman Zine gave you a lot of detail. You only have to recall the notorious North Hollywood shootout where 11 LAPD officers and 6 civilians were wounded during a prolonged exchange of gunfire with 2 bank robbery thugs who were armed head to toe in body armor. This now famous shootout was covered worldwide by the news media and should have served as a lesson for Justice Robert Aldrich's cohorts on the bench, but it wasn't. The 1994 killing of San Francisco police officer James Gelf by a cowardly robber wearing body armor was another reason this law was passed in 1998. There is absolutely no justifiable logic behind the recent action taken by this judicial body, and anyone with a sound mind has to wonder exactly who these justices are trying to protect and whose rights or wrongs are being trampled on. We certainly know they do not have the safety of the general public or our law enforcement officers in mind. These are the same law enforcement officers who place their lives on the line to protect us every day. And I thank, again, Councilman Zine, Councilman Koretz, Councilman Smith for your action, and I hope the council makes this a unanimous vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. We'll go, and it's always an honor to have Chief Moore here. So with that, why don't you give us your thoughts on this as well?
Good morning. It's my pleasure to appear on behalf of Chief Charlie Beck and the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department, and we join in support of this council, and we believe all Angelenos in recognizing that this is a situation in the present time that cannot continue. As has been said, this Second Court of Appeals decision, a 2-to-1 decision overturning the arrest of a 2007 LA citizen who was a violent convicted felon wearing a body armor under the rationale that convicted violent felon did not understand that the 10-plus pound military grade ballistic body armor was in fact a body armor is beyond many of our understanding. I've read the decision as well as including the majority and minority opinions, and concur with the last speaker as to it is beyond our grasp as to how this case was overturned. The trouble that we have here is a couple-fold. One, we've got a convicted felon who is now subject to being released back on the street. That is a circumstance that we believe cannot be allowed to stand. Secondly is we have a very important piece of protection for not only our police officers, our frontline responders, but also the public themselves that has been eliminated by this decision. We, as a department, have taken the following actions in addition to responding to San Francisco last week and speaking in concert with a number of other chief officers from throughout the state of California, asking for this case to be overturned, as well as legislation that would restore this protection. Chief of Police Charlie Beck initiated correspondence to Attorney General Brown asking that he immediately appeal this decision before the Second Court of Appeals struck before the California Supreme Court. Additionally, Chief Beck and the department is in support of discussions that District Attorney Steve Cooley has had and has announced as to his desire that there be an immediate and urgent legislation produced by the State Assembly or the State Legislature that would more simply define what constitutes body armor and that this protection again be restored. So in conclusion, the department is here today asking that the City Council throw its full weight in support behind the effort to see that this decision is overturned. We believe that the law that was enacted in 1998 has withstood the test of time, and unfortunately did not withstand the judgment of 2 of 3 individuals on the Second Court of Appeal, but that a California Supreme Court, when properly briefed, can come to the proper and appropriate decision, which would allow this convicted felon to be kept in prison for his offense. Additionally, the simplification of the law, if that is something that is viewed as something that can take place prior to the California Supreme Court's decision, that if that is the expedient manner, then let's do that. Because as we stand out here today, we must recognize the fact of the matter is that since 2007, 29 incidences in the city of this city of Angels, 29 separate instances in which our officers have been fired on and have had to return fire. So each day that we wait for the California Supreme Court to restore this protection of our officers and of our community, we jeopardize the safety of our officers and the community. So a simplified and urgent legislation would hopefully remedy that, as well as the ordinance at a local level that this council has within its power to achieve.
Thank
I'll
you.
be happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Hahn is our next speaker.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to rise and lend my full weight, or whatever that is these days, full support to what we're doing here today. And I really want to thank Dennis Zine and Councilmember Smith and Koretz for really bringing this forward. And we want to send a message today, certainly by supporting this unanimously. We want to send a message first to our Attorney General that how strongly we feel about getting this decision overturned. And we want to send a message to our police officers, not just, here in the city of Los Angeles, but really our law enforcement officers, up and down the state of California. It's clear by what the people voted on what their intention was. And it's unfortunate that it's gotten misinterpreted by the Court of Appeals. But we want to send a message to our police officers. Not only do we support public safety, not only do we believe in hiring more police officers, not only do we believe in making sure that they have good benefits, but we want them to be safe. And this is a step that we can take today to let them know how much we believe that this puts their lives in danger. But as you said, I was sitting here thinking about it, it also puts the public's life in danger. If you've got someone who's a convicted felon and is intent on harming people, and they've got a full body armor on, it would be a lot more difficult for our police officers to subdue them and get the public out of his harm's way. So what we're doing here, I think, sends a lot of messages, but we do want to let our officers know that we're going to do everything within our legislative power here as a city council of the largest city in the state of California to lend our support and our clear message to Attorney Brown that we want to see this decision overturned. So thank you for bringing this forward. I'm glad I had an opportunity to weigh in on this.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Zine for the second time.
I just wanted to add that on these three matters, 16, 23, and 24, that the amicus brief move forward forthwith, the legislation, urging the state legislature to draft new legislation, and thirdly, on 24, that the city of Los Angeles, our city attorney, draft an ordinance restricting body armor in the city of Los Angeles while the state legislature goes through the process and to the Senate and to the governor and the signature, et cetera. That may take a period of time to complete, pending the court case. We don't know how many months that'll take, but that we would draft an ordinance in the city of Los Angeles banning as quickly as possible that no one would be able to permit use of that in the city of Los Angeles while the state moves forward. And hopefully it'll be overturned in court. But whatever happens, we want to make sure that we do something locally. And I would also hope that other jurisdictions within the state of California would join in this. It's definitely critical to our police officers, and I think Chief Moore was at the North Hollywood Bank shootout. I know that's a memory that we will never, ever forget and don't want to repeat. So I would request that all three items go forthwith as stated in the motions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zine. There are no further speakers in the queue, and thank you very much for your testimony. Mr. Clerk, if you would please open the roll, close the roll, and then tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Next item. forthwith, please, on that item.
Item 21, called special for cards.
All right, let's see. Mr. Zuma Dog and Michael Carrion. Mr. Carrion? Okay.
21. Oh! Yes, no need to look at notes when it's rent escrow. I'd like to come to describe to council the situation of why you have a lot of property owners that are lining up to sue the city for things. Now, here's the way it works in the city of Los Angeles. And if you're a property owner, they have this thing, rent escrow, and they'll say like, oh, you have to, do this thing and that thing and all these compliant things. And banks aren't even giving the building owners money to be able to do these improvements. And then you have bad tenants that will file a lot of complaints. Anyway, what ends up happening is the building owners, the mom and pop owners that are housing the people affordably, people that need housing, not in the luxury condos, but in the regular mom and pop housing, the stuff for the real people that live here, well, the building owners can't afford to operate. So then what happens? They lose the property, then the council member hands it over to their favorite developer, then they kick all the tenants out, and then they gentrify the community, and then you build some $500,000 to $800,000 condo unit with too many variances and too many exemptions and too many things you're not supposed to be doing, and then you have a city, you just built ancient Greece. You just ended up screwing up the city. You did nothing but upscale housing that nobody can afford. Now it's plummeting in value. The revenue is dead in the water. And so I say that you better become a lot more landlord friendly to the people that are going to be housing the people that are going to be hitting the streets. Nobody can afford the stuff you built in the city. You should all be locked up in jail. And I call Barack Obama to please get down to Los Angeles City Hall. You have a leaderless, rudderless, bunch of cowardly losers who are not doing anything to fix a dead-in-the-water situation. This is a national crisis. As LA goes, so goes the country. And I'm telling you, we need Barack Obama, feds, to get
Madam President, he's not talking about the REAPs anymore.
Please stop his clock. Mr. Dog, you need to stay on topic.
Okay, I'll stay on topic.
We'll have to terminate your time. Start the clock again.
What? The topic is Barack Obama, get down here. There's no leadership in the dead in the water.
Thank you very much. Your time's up. Thank you. Mr. Carrion.
I couldn't put it any more clear than he just did. You take property that people own that need to be fixed, yet you own property that needs to be fixed. I've come to here and told you Mr. Reyes is a slumlord. In his district, these trees have to be cleaned. They're rat infested. Yet, you sit there, thumbing your nose at everything, reading your books, drinking your coffee, and having conversations. You do nothing about it. Yet, you have people out there putting other people's property in escrow. I don't understand this. I do understand this. I take that back. This is hypocrisy at its best. You got two standards, one for the people and one for City Hall. Remember when you put out the ordinance for the water, you can't use water? Oh, the city can because it's too much for us to lose our gardens, our grass, but everybody else can't. Two standards, one for the people and one for City Hall and their properties. It shouldn't be that way. The property I speak about with Mr. Reyes says, you continue to rent it out to the movie studios. It's commercial property being rented. So you...
Madam President, he's not talking about the REAP issues.
Okay, stop the clock, please.
Is this the city attorney?
Would you please try and stay on topic, otherwise...
I'm trying to, but if the city attorney, the same one that walks around calling people assholes, he's going to sit here and interrupt...
Okay, you're going to have to refrain from using profanity in the council chamber.
The attorney said.
Please
Those
refrain.
were his words.
Please refrain.
Those
I
were
start
his
the
words.
clock again.
I didn't hear an apology. Those were his words. In these chambers, he used them. Okay? I've got a witness right there. See? City attorney, there goes the same double standard. Everybody else here has to watch their language, but the city attorney...
Madam
can come out
President,
here.
he's not talking about this topic, and
Mr.
he's...
Carrion, stop the clock. Again, I'm going to urge you to please stay on topic on the agenda item before us. Otherwise, I'll have to ask you to stand down.
Okay.
Thank you. Start his clock, please.
Once again, double standards. You put people's property in REAP, you take their property from them, and you give them a minimum amount of rent, but yet you sit there and you rent out your property at top dollar.
Thank you very much.
And you don't clean it up.
Thank you. There's no speakers in the queue on this item. Mr. Clerk, if you would please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Next item.
Item 22, called special for cards.
All right, I'm going to call Tim.
Madam President, point of order.
Yes.
This is the dual force main issue, and there are public comment cards.
Yes.
And if it would be appropriate, I would like our departments to come up here and describe the situation before public comment as to what it's about.
Okay.
And in that context, colleagues, this has to do with the dual force main. The dual force main is an effort by the City of Los Angeles that has been working on it for over 10 years to create a second main pipe that takes sewage all the way from Malibu down to the Hyperion plant. Malibu, the Pacific Palisades, the county in Topanga, Santa Monica, Culver City, and obviously Marina del Rey, plus the City of Los Angeles. All the refuge, and I'm talking about the most personal refuge, goes down a pipe. Right now there's one pipe, and it's on the ocean. And it's over 50 years old. And the city for years has been trying to create another pipe, not only for redundancy, but God forbid we had a problem with the one, we would have another one there. It's a vital part of our health and, frankly, in my opinion, of our safety, and it's a vital part of our beach. So what I'd like to do is ask the Departments of Public Works that have been greatly involved with this to come on up, and we have an 8-minute video. If I could have your attention to see this video, it would be very helpful for you to get an appreciation of what this issue is. And for our viewers out there to understand a very significant issue that impacts all of us in the city. If we could see the video right now, I'd be most grateful for that.
Hidden in Venice is the Venice Pumping Plant that receives untreated wastewater from coastal communities such as Malibu, Pacific Palisades, Santa Monica, Venice, and Marina del Rey. This plant pumps 30 million gallons of untreated wastewater each day through pressurized pipe, which is more than 50 years old. The pipe is called a force main, and it leads to the Hyperion treatment plant where the wastewater is treated. Currently, this force main is the only sewage pipe available for the pumping plant to pump the untreated wastewater to its final destination. The addition of the second force main will give the Venice pumping plant the flexibility to divert the wastewater flow to either force main as the need arises for inspection and maintenance or the failure of one of the force mains. Currently, a force main failure could result in an environmental catastrophe. Working to solve this problem, the City of Los Angeles Department of Public Works, Bureaus of Engineering and Sanitation are looking at 3 potential construction routes to build the new force main called the Venice Dual Force Main. The focus of this video is to bring to light community disruptions that each of these routes that are north of the Marina del Rey Channel may have over a 2-year period. All of these routes, the Beach Route, Pacific Avenue Route, and Via Marina will have traffic impacts. However, on the proposed Via Marina route, the traffic impacts are more manageable. These impacts are due to the construction activities and micro-tunneling pits that are involved when building a large sewer. At any time, there may be up to 3 active micro-tunneling pits that will affect traffic. These micro-tunnel pits are locations where the pipe sections are fed into a tunnel as the force main is constructed. These routes need to be considered carefully, especially since it will take approximately 2 years to construct this force main. The beach route mirrors the current route of the existing 50-year-old force main. It would exit the pumping plant and travel west down Hurricane Avenue until it reaches the beach. The force main would then turn south and be buried under the sand in the Venice Beach area. Construction on this route would result in partial beach closures. This route would also put the new force main close to the current force main. This would subject both force mains to the same type of natural elements, such as erosion and rising water levels. Also, if one of the pressurized force mains fails, it could cause the other force main to fail, which would expose the beach and nearby Santa Monica Bay to an environmental catastrophe. Because of these issues and the potential negative impact to the natural environments of the beach and bay, this route would not provide the necessary flexibility needed to protect the environment that agencies like the California Coastal Commission, the Regional Water Quality Board, the City of Los Angeles Department of Public Works Bureaus of Engineering and Sanitation would deem necessary, and therefore is not a preferred route. The Pacific Avenue route would exit the Venice pumping plant and head west on Hurricane Avenue until it intersects with Pacific Avenue. At this intersection, the force main would turn left and go south down Pacific Avenue all the way to the Marina del Rey Channel. This proposed route will have 6 microtunneling pits that are located in the street. If the force main is constructed down Hurricane Street to Pacific Avenue, the new force main will be close to the existing force main until it turns south on Pacific. Due to the existing utilities and the proximity to the existing force main, the entire Pacific Avenue and Hurricane Street intersection will be closed to traffic and public access. This will limit access to many properties in Pacific Avenue, since the only access to them is Pacific Avenue. During construction, traffic would travel south on Pacific until it meets the northbound Via Marina, or travel south on Pacific and turn onto Speedway, a one-way alley that travels north and parallels Pacific on the west. To bypass the closure of Pacific Avenue, traffic could take Esplanade, which is just east of Pacific, south of Hurricane. Another route is to take Via Marina south to where it meets Pacific and go northbound on Pacific. Within the project, there are 4 microtunneling pits, which may allow a 10-foot southbound traffic lane to be available on Pacific during construction. One of these pits would be located north of Union Jack, in front of residences and their driveways. The last microtunneling pit would be located at the southern end of Pacific. This pit would close the entire intersection of Pacific Avenue and Via Marina for approximately a year. When this pit is opened, residents, businesses, and utilities will have only one northbound route, Speedway, the one-way alley. The Pacific Avenue route has 2 additional issues which are not present on any other routes. First, residents on Pacific Avenue, especially those located near the northbound lane, are closer to each microtunneling construction site. Second, the school bus route for the West Side Leadership Magnet School would need to be changed. This is because the school buses currently go southbound on Via Marina to northbound Pacific Avenue to pick up or drop off students. This may involve changing traffic flow on Strong's Drive, which is a narrow 2-way street, into a 1-way street. Of the 2 non-beach routes, this route will have greater impacts on traffic flow for residents, businesses, utilities, emergency services, and the school. For these reasons, this route is a less desirable route. The Via Marina route will have the least impact on the public and is the most manageable route for traffic flow. This route would exit the Venice pumping plant and travel east across the Grand Canal and follow Marquesas Way until it intersects Via Marina. At Via Marina, the force main would turn south and follow Via Marina all the way to the Marina del Rey Channel. In this proposed route, there will be 6 microtunneling pits, 5 of which are located in the street. Also, this route travels down Via Marina, a 4-lane street which has 2 traffic lanes for each direction. The overall size of Via Marina will allow for both northbound and southbound traffic while the force main is being built. Extensive detours will not be needed, keeping traffic on suitable streets. For this reason, the City of Los Angeles Department of Public Works Bureaus of Sanitation and Engineering believe that this route is the right choice. This route would travel east across the Grand Canal. The first out of the 5 microtunneling pits that will be in the street would be at Via Dulce and Marquesas Way. This pit would be located near the triangular traffic island and would take away the right southbound lane, leaving the left southbound lane open for traffic. The second pit would be at the intersection of Marquesas Way and Via Marina. But unlike the Pacific and Hurricane intersection, this intersection would remain open and allow southbound and northbound traffic to continue to use Via Marina. The next 2 pits would be located in Via Marina's right southbound lane. Again, leaving the left southbound lane open to traffic and not affecting any northbound traffic. The 5th pit would be located in Via Marina's right side northbound lane, just 40 feet south of where Via Dulce intersects Via Marina. But like all the southbound pits, it would only take away the right northbound traffic lane, leaving the left lane open for all northbound traffic. The last pit that would be constructed on this route will not close any traffic lanes, and this is a major consideration. This is because the pit will be located in the parking lot that is located on the west side of Via Marina, just north of where Via Marina turns westward toward Pacific Avenue. This point is important, as this pit would remain active for at least a year. These 3 routes, the Beach Route, Pacific Avenue Route, and Via Marina Route, will impact residents and businesses, such as utilities and delivery services. Choosing the right route and making a good decision will lessen the impact this construction will have on everyone. That route is Via Marina. Once the route for the second force main is agreed upon, the sooner the force main can be built, allowing flexibility and reliable wastewater service for all residents serviced by the Venice pumping plant.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Sherrod, would you like for me to call the cards, Mr. Rosendahl?
Yeah.
All right, great.
Hear the community, and if you could turn your chairs around so they don't see your back, and we could have that healthy discussion. Then there are a few other issues I need to share with my colleagues.
Pressing your button again when the time
Great.
comes?
Thank you.
Way over time.
Terrific.
Okay, I'm going to call up 3 people at a time. Tim Riley, and then William Winter. Is William Winter here? And Frederick Faffel. Please begin by stating your name for the record.
Good morning, honorable members of the City Council. My name is Tim Riley, representing the Marina del Rey Lessees Association. Our association represents the major leaseholders in Marina del Rey who have built the apartments, hotels, anchorages, and other businesses in the county, on the county-owned parcels. We believe that the proposed alternative that is being discussed here has the greatest impact of all 3 alignments that you are considering. For one thing, there are thousands of residents in Marina del Rey, many businesses that will be impacted by this construction on the Via Marina alignment, whereas other alignments have lesser impacts, contrary to what was said in the video. Also, from the initial start of this process of the EIR review, outreach by the city to the community of Marina del Rey was very negligible, very little. And we would urge that you recirculate the EIR, considering a lot of new information has come forward. I'd also just quite quickly like to point out that yesterday, Councilman Rosendahl issued a press release in which he says, I obtained full review of this the Scattergood Olympic Underground Power Line project on behalf of my residents, that they had concerns about the impacts, and sending it out for full EIR review. He had an agreement with DWP. We'd just like to ask for the same here, that you send this back out and recirculate it so that the residents of Marina del Rey and all the businesses that will be impacted have the chance to make the appropriate comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Winter.
Yes. Good morning. My name is William Winter. I'm representing Los Angeles County. I'm with the Department of Public Works. I do want to thank city staff for working with us in this last year. As you may recall, in November 2008, the Board of Supervisors took an opposed position on the project, asking that at a minimum it be recirculated for public review. City staff did work with us on some errors that we discovered during this last year. Specifically, my part of it was in the traffic study. I can let you know that what this new traffic study that was generated in 2009 indicates is that Via Marina will have more traffic impact when compared against the Pacific Avenue alignment. There are 16,500 vehicles per day that use the highest amount of traffic on Via Marina at the north end of Via Marina, compared to the highest number of traffic on Pacific is 5,500 vehicles a day. Transportation impact using the Via Marina alignment, again, was miscalculated in 2005 because of the erroneous assumption of the number of lanes that would be impacted on Via Marina. What now is described in the 2009 study is that 3 segments on Via Marina would be impacted as opposed to 1 in the original study. It isn't just the number of segments, but it's also the frequency of this impact that is of a concern. In 2005, the traffic study indicated that just the southbound direction of 1 segment of Via Marina would be impacted negatively, and that was only in the weekday PM peak hour. So out of a possible 18 scenarios, the original study identified only 1 of those scenarios as negative. In this new 2009 study of those same 18 scenarios, 15 of them are negatively impacted on the Via Marina alignment. So again, this is new information. I do want to thank, again, city staff for generating that information for us, and it did allow us to review it for your opportunity today. Thank you.
Frederick Pfaffel. Following Mr. Pfaffel will be Charlotte Miyamoto. Is Charlotte Miyamoto here? Come on up. And then Lynn Shapiro. Is Lynn Shapiro still here? Okay. And then John, I think it's John Cape. Okay, great.
Good morning. My name is Fred Pfaffel. I'm Principal Deputy County Counsel for the County of Los Angeles. I want to start by saying the county supports the pump plant project but objects to the IR being certified at this time due to new information and as the Pacific alignment is environmentally superior. The City of Los Angeles, as lead agency for this Venice pumping plant dual force main project, is required by law to recirculate the IR to the public under CEQA Guideline 15088.5 because significant new information was added after public notice was given of the availability of the draft EIR for public review and prior to certification. Specifically, significant new information was added to the EIR by means of a new traffic study that is now being made a part of the EIR, by which the city had not yet prepared at the time it circulated the draft EIR to the public. The new traffic study shows that certain traffic impacts in the draft EIR that was circulated are wrong. Among other reasons, the new information is significant because not recirculating the corrected EIR deprives the public of a meaningful opportunity to comment on the traffic impacts, which are substantial adverse environmental effects of the project. In addition, the draft EIR did not properly describe the project as required by CEQA, including as it will take place in the county's right-of-way. It did not properly describe the impacts of the proposed project, and it failed to identify a proposed project among the alternatives discussed. Other ways in which the IR violates CEQA included the city improperly dismisses the impacts related to the traffic because they're temporary, and there are defects to the statement of overriding considerations. The County of Los Angeles, therefore, respectfully requests that the city reconsider the Pacific alignment and recirculate the IR.
Thank you very much. Charlotte Miyamoto is next, and then Lynn Shapiro will follow.
Good morning, council members. My name is Charlotte Miyamoto, and I work for the LA County Department of Beaches and Harbors. I'm the planning chief for, the chief for the planning division. As both Mr. Winters and Mr. Pfeffel have indicated, the county does support the project to construct a redundant sewer force main. However, the county does feel that the Pacific Avenue alignment is proper and environmentally superior. It's a city street versus Via Marina, which is located in the unincorporated county territory. Via Marina serves as the only access to over 3,800 residential units. That's not the number of residents, but the number of residential units. On top of that, there are over 2,300 boat slip tenants that will be impacted by the city's construction project. Some of these slip tenants also live full-time on their vessels. In comparison, Pacific Avenue has only 726 residential units. Noted in the EIR was the noise and vibration factors. For Via Marina, the number is 40 compared to 17 on Via Marina. So these factors appear to be less impactful environmentally to the residents of Via Marina and Pacific Avenue. In addition, the county does have a number of its own construction projects going on. Don't know yet, again, what the construction schedule for the sewer force main is at this point because of the delays, but the county does have a number of apartment projects that are in the pipeline going through Regional Planning Commission, as well as a number of road improvement projects. I just wanted to bring this information to your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Lynn Shapiro is our next speaker. After that is John Cape.
Good morning. It's very nice to see you all in person. This is not a sexy video, but it is photographs that I took from the site of the sewer, looking up directly into the windows and balconies of the condominiums along 3 long blocks that will be affected on Via Marina. Who will be affected for 12 to 18? Now I hear it's 2 years. 5,700 county and city residents who live in close proximity to this designated scenic highway and use it to and from work as a major route to Admiralty, Lincoln, and the 90 freeway, and many boaters too. 2,500 of us are your constituents. We reside in 700 single-family homes in Silver Strand and in the 4 condominium associations closest to the sewer tunnels. How will we be affected? Drilling noise and vibrations are to occur from 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays, 9 p.m., and 7 to 6 p.m. on Saturdays. Less than 5 or 6 feet, less than 5 to 6 feet from our windows. Less than 5 to 6 feet from our windows. Air pollution and noise will make our balconies and windows unusable. There will be danger. Methane gas will require 24-hour monitoring, according to the project manager. On Via Marina, 6,000 plus residents, boaters too, will have only 1 lane of traffic for almost 2 years. Vibrations, what are the other dangers? Vibrations from drilling and tunneling could impact the marina seawalls, which, like the condominiums, are aging structures. The waters of the marina are even closer to the project site than the ocean is to the current sewer. In the future, were there to be a rupture, may I continue a bit more?
Sorry, we have to keep it as even as possible in the interest of fairness, but if there's anything else that you have written, if you'd like to submit it to our Sergeant at Arms, we'd be happy to take that. But sorry, and thank you for your understanding. We appreciate that. John Cape is our final speaker on that side. And then Tom Ford will be the next speaker to follow him. Good morning, sir.
Okay. Hello, council members. My name is John Cape and I'm on the board of directors of the Via Dolce HOA. And it's very clear to us that the beach route is the most desirable route. And it's from reports that I've read, there's $65 million that's been budgeted for this Via Marina route. Going through the beach route would be almost 20% less. Two of the biggest arguments against the beach route was erosion and tsunami danger. And I don't have pictures, but if you look at pictures for the last 40 years, there's not erosion going along Venice Beach. There's been accretion, so that's not been an issue. The next thing was a tsunami danger that was considered, and most tsunamis that I've seen go over and wipe everything out above the beach level, and that would certainly take out the Venice pumping plant as well. Anyway, again, thank you for our consideration, and please reconsider the beach route. Okay. This is one last thing. I have 29 more seconds, but Lynn says, in the future, were there to be a rupture, the residents and boaters would have to traverse the spills, whereas a beach route could be more quarantined to minimize direct exposure and disease. That is correct. I mean, if we had a rupture via Marina, we're only about 20 feet away from the Marina water, as opposed from where the sewer line is on the beach route, which is about 500 yards at least from the water line. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cape. Tom Ford is our next speaker. After that is Susie Santelena. Good morning. Still for a little bit. It's still morning.
Right there. Thank you. Tom Ford, Santa Monica Baykeeper. I think there's been a number of significant things stated today. Perhaps none more important to the interests of all of us Angelenos than this is a project that's been lingering greater than 10 years, I think closer to 20. From an environmental standpoint, trying to envision the deposition of 30 million gallons a day of untreated sewage onto the beach, into the waters of both the Santa Monica Bay and Marina del Rey expresses the urgency for this project to move forward without any of my support. Having reviewed the EIR, having spoken at a number of hearings before many of you assembled here today, the Santa Monica Baykeeper supports the Via Marina route. Specifically, the beach route puts these two force mains in a fairly close proximity and a parallel track for a very long run. And if one were to fail, the 30 million gallons of pressurized sewage evacuating the sand surrounding not only that main, but the one next to it, encourages an engineering situation that other people are better able to speak to than I, but the idea that both of them then collapse. I am not a traffic expert. I don't wish to try to pretend to be one, but for the folks along Pacific, if Pacific Avenue is shut down, whether those 5,000 or 7,000 residents, whichever those numbers were, are without any options. Surely there will be impacts along Via Marina. I will be one of those folks who is impacted. Our boat is slipped down there in the area, and I consider it to be a superior option. I think I can commend the Engineering Sanitation Department for a great deal of good work so far on this project, and to the extent that I can continue to support this, I will. Thank you for the time, and let's get that thing built.
All right. Susie Santelena is next, and then after that, we'll hear from Tracy Egusquiu.
Good morning, almost. My name is Susie Santelena. I'm a water quality scientist at Heal the Bay, and I'm also an environmental civil engineer by training. I just wanted to echo the comments of Tom Ford from Baykeeper and speak on behalf of Heal the Bay to support the proposed EIR, particularly the Via Marina alignment. We like the fact that it's further from the ocean than the beach alignment alternative, and it provides a safer backup system because it's less likely to be impacted by the same event or rupture as the old main. Also, I just wanted to communicate the urgency of this project. Venice Pumping Station is one of the largest in LA, and in the case of a large storm event, there's a good chance that this one main that's serving this pumping plant will rupture or won't have the capacity to hold all of the sewage flowing through it, which could lead to an overflow into the nearby ocean. So we just wanted to, echo the comments of Baykeeper and speak in support of this, and thank the Bureau of Engineering Department of Public Works for their work on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tracy's next. After her will be Zuma Dog.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Garcetti,
good to see you.
How are you? I'd like to thank the Council Member Rosendahl for his leadership. My name is Tracy Egusquiu. I'm the Executive Officer of the Regional Water Quality Control Board, And on behalf of the board and the state of California that we regulate, including the city of Los Angeles and the county of Los Angeles, there is an extreme urgency to this project. There is no need for a further delay. And I'd just like to note for the record, and I will conclude because enough has been said, this force main will serve not just the city of Los Angeles, but the county of Los Angeles, both unincorporated and the county proper, and there is absolutely no reason to paint this as a city versus county project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tracy. Our next speaker is Zuma Dog. Is he here? I do not see him, so we'll close the public hearing and return to Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could ask staff to come up and please respond to some of the constituents' concerns of the county that were brought before us today. And could you please verbalize a quick history of this project? And I also, colleagues, want you to know that the county supervisor, Don Canabi, and I had a meeting yesterday, and I made it very clear that we agree to disagree on this, but there is the potential that the county could sue us over this. And that's why your attention is greatly appreciated on this matter. But it's reached that point that we have to take action. And I believe that 10 years or 15 years is long enough. So please, city staff, give us a history update real quick. Obviously take questions from my colleagues and respond to what you heard the public just say. Thank you.
Councilmember Christopher Westhoff, Assistant City Attorney, Public Works General Counsel. With all due respect to my younger colleagues that are sitting around the table here, back in the late 1980s, we were in the process of upgrading the Venice pump plant, which is the largest pump plant in the city. We were building a 750 kV generator at the plant so that we could protect the plant from a possibility of having its power cut during a storm event or some other event. Well, timing is everything, and there was both a storm and an accident where a car took out one of the power feeds to the plant. We had not finished putting in the redundant on-site power, and we spilled 48 million gallons of untreated sewage into the canal and ultimately into the ocean. So that is sort of with some historical perspective, all the way back to the late 1980s. The city has been discussing and talking about needing to put in a redundant system along there. The city of Los Angeles is extremely lucky. Most of our sewage flows by gravity just because of the topography of the land. We have a minimal amount of pump plants in this city, approximately 50 or so, 56 pump plants, Venice being the largest. So we take them very seriously. Every single pump plant in the city of Los Angeles has redundant power built into it so that if we lose the Department of Water and Power, we can power those pump plants on site so that we can prevent spills. We have not had a spill at a pump plant for well over a decade. So these pump plants are important. The need for the Venice dual force main has been recognized by the Bureau of Sanitation, the Bureau of Engineering, for well over 20 years. We were discussing it back in the mid to late 1980s when we were rebuilding and upgrading the Venice pump plant. So that's just a little historical perspective on how long this project has been going around, and I'll allow the engineers to explain to you what they did relative to the AR, and then if you would like, I can comment on the legal issues that involve CEQA and so forth.
Good morning, Gary Moore, City Engineer with the Bureau of Engineering. I'm also joined with Enrique Zaldivar, the Director of the Bureau of Sanitation. Enrique and I know what an important project this is, and as such, we went out to the project site and drove and walked the entire site. One of the things I do is I want to acknowledge and thank the county for the issues that they brought up, because we did indeed look at this in even greater detail. And what it really came to point out is that the Via Marina alternative is the best alternative. With the closures that would occur on the Pacific Avenue and the isolation of residences, it reconfirmed the environmental impact report that was drafted and presented to the Public Works Committee. In addition, since the time that the Public Works Committee heard in December 8, we've done additional studies on the traffic and on also the digging of the pits working together. We've also had numerous briefings with the county departments, the Marina Del Rey Design Control Board, the Marina Del Rey Lessees Association, the LA Small Craft Harbor Association, and Homeowners Association. Secondly, I can go through a little bit on it. Before you in your council file is approximately a 14-page document that goes point by point through the county's, many of the county's concerns. One of the things that's been brought up today is that there was additional traffic impacts that were found in the 2009 study as compared to the 2008 EIR. There was nothing new found that in the traffic study that would change the original recommendations from the environmental impact report. And in fact, it helped us to once again feel strongly about the Via Marina alternative. Also, we did do extensive outreach. Thousands of people were notified. We also went to the newspapers. It was on the website. There was a lot of outreach that was done on this project. Jim Doty also is here. Enrique, you want to add anything?
I want to, Enrique Zaldivar, Director of the Bureau of Sanitation, and oftentimes as a general manager, one gets asked what are some of the things that keep you awake at night. This is one of those projects. Councilmember Rosenthal spoke to the need and the value of redundancy. In this project, there's the other concern that grows by the day now. It's now a 50-year-old pipeline that we're talking about. There was a time where only redundancy as a value was of concern, but now it's both the redundancy need as well as the concern for the aging of the existing sewer. This is roughly close to 10% of the city's flow that goes through this location. And we have been very proud of the efforts we have done in reducing spills across the city. Occasionally there will be big-sized projects that occur where there's partial collapse of a sewer or, a sewer that is in imminent danger, and many of you have seen it in your council districts. This is one catastrophe that none of us want to even envision happening. So it's important, it's very urgent from our perspective, from the city's perspective, that we move this project along.
Do you want me to go over
Okay. We can answer additional.
And I think actually Mr. Labange time, so if you don't mind pressing the button again. Okay, if they're done from the table. Mr. Labange is next, and then Ms. Hunt.
Yeah, thank you very much. First and foremost, to whoever produced the video, it was a Bureau of Sanitation, in-house, whoever narrated, it sounded like Peter Grace, but it was very factual and simple and non-engineering. I think it was very good to see this here. In my district, to bring water, the river supply conduit is coming through. It'll have big impacts. And we have to go out door to door, that I'm sure Mr. Rosendahl has done to try to do it. We don't like these projects in the sense that they have to be built, but there's impact any which way. What if it went on the shore, just on the sand? Just explain that one, because I know some of the public comment was, it seems simple to go on there. What are the hazards to going on the shore?
We actually hired a specialty consultant to look at that issue, and this sewer looking at it for the next 100 years, there's going to be additional beach erosion, and so that's of a real concern.
So you're betting on the fact that in 100 years,
yes,
just like the beach has been reduced in some parts of the world, it's potentially possible that it could erode up to that location.
That is correct.
Okay.
Jim Doty is from our Bureau of Engineering. Jim, anything on the beach alternative that you want to add that the consultant?
Jim Doty with the Bureau of Engineering, Acting Environmental Affairs Officer. In addition to the engineering concerns of potential sea level rise and continued erosion of the beach, we have a concern with the nesting area of the rare and endangered least tern, which is on the beach and would be just a few hundred feet away from the channel crossing construction site we would have to put up for approximately a year. Also, co-locating the two sewers along the same alignment reduces the redundancy benefit we would get out of the sewer. If we had an accident with one of the sewer, it could endanger the second sewer.
Very well. Now, someone mentioned Malibu and Santa Monica and the county. Do we treat their sewer?
Not Malibu, but we do treat Santa Monica.
So who mentioned Malibu?
There is room in the coastal interceptor sewer which will hopefully ultimately take Malibu's sewage once they are...
But you have Heal the Bay, you have a baykeeper, you have people who've been fighting for 30 years plus. When Bob Horry was here as the city engineer, and Donald Tillman, and all that time. So finally leadership comes and you got to push the project. I don't like it when you have any options, but if you have an option to go down a wider street, you have less inconvenience to the people. It's very difficult. And I'm sorry to the people of the county, but in reviewing the video and reviewing the documents, looking at the pictures, I would have to support the recommendation of the Bureau. And I would want you to tell whoever produced that. It was excellently done. That really was a great tool that we used here. A little long version, like Light My Fire by the Doors. We could have the short version they used to have on KHJ. But anyway, thank you very much.
Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. Obviously, any project of this magnitude, takes a lot in it. Sounds like it's been going on for a while. I guess no one disputes the need for this. But in terms of just a couple comments that were made today, I'd like you to respond to. One was that this chosen route, if something happened, if there was some damage or sewage got out, it was actually closer to the marina waters than the ocean route. Comment on that. And then, obviously, again, a project of this magnitude certainly can never be built without disruption to surrounding neighborhoods. But I was a little... I would also be pretty unhappy if the hours of drilling were 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. That one would like to comment on whether or not that is really going to be the construction timeline, because it seems to me if we've waited this long, well, why are we trying to use every possible hour in the day to do this? That would be a little inconvenient, I would think, for residents. So could you comment on just those two things that I think were causes of concern by the neighborhood?
First of all, on the hours of construction, and I'll back up, during the last 10 years, here in the city of Los Angeles, we've built over $1 billion worth of new sewers. And we're very aware of residential concerns, and we definitely understand the county residents and their concerns. So we're very aware of working with constituents successfly. Regarding the hours of construction, they are the normal hours of construction from 7 a.m. to 4, right?
The hours...
Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Council member, the hours that were quoted are the hours that were stated as the maximum construction hours in the EIR. It's not our intent to use those hours. It's the maximum allowed by the regulations, but a typical work day, we would stop much sooner than that.
Which is the 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., which is what we're planning to put into the construction.
You can imagine that would cause real angst among residents if they thought that you were allowed to work till 9 and that you actually could. I don't know. That might be something you want to clarify for the residents, that you have no intention of till 9.
Legally, we have to identify for the council the maximum potential environmental impacts. That is why those numbers are in there. One of the ways that you mitigate those impacts is to reduce the number of hours. That is what is planned in here. So what you see in the document is the worst case scenario, and then we mitigate back from the worst case scenario to a level that the council is comfortable with and that you ultimately would approve for whatever alignment that you chose.
Right, and I have complete faith that Councilmember Rosendahl will be proposing more reasonable hours. And then what about the comment of the chosen route is actually closer to water than the beach route?
It's all within hundreds of feet of the water, right?
Okay, thank you. Well, I know you put a lot of hours and time into this. I'm certainly going to support the council members and the staff recommendation for this route. and trusts that Bill, who has such a great relationship with his constituents and his neighborhoods, that he'll work to mitigate the impacts as much as he can.
Thank you. Mr. Rosendahl.
Colleagues, thank you, staff. Colleagues, you all have now received a one-pager that outlines the three routes, the Via Marina route, the Pacific Avenue route, and the beach route. It's pretty simple. It's been passed around and explains to you why Via Marina route was taken. This is a no-brainer on one level. This has been going on for a long time. I think Jim Doty started on this before his hair even started to turn colors. But when I first met with them all, they looked at me in the eye and they said, we can't wait anymore. And I think you've made it very clear that this is one of those issues that keeps you up at night. I personally wanted the beach route, the least impactful in the context of residents, and was clearly pointed out by the environmentalists, unacceptable. All the way from the feds to the state, to the county, to the region, to the groups that spoke here today. So that took away the one that would have been the least impactful on constituents. And I say to my friends in the county, that little stretch of county there, I really appreciate where you're coming from, but that is Via Marina. It's a larger route than the Pacific route. So I would look for your support, and if you want to, Mr. Westhoff, make one more comment about this, please do. Otherwise, I'd like to have a yes vote on this.
Sure. Well, from a legal perspective, the city has the absolute legal right to build a sewer in pretty much any public right-of-way that exists, whether it be in the county, the city, or another municipality. From a legal perspective, the Supreme Court of the state of California established that back in the 1950s, and we have, acting in our governmental capacity, the legal right, as long as we comply with other. We don't have that right on the beach route. So there would be other potential legal issues that could prevent us from utilizing the beach route. So if you go back to the public right-of-ways between Pacific and Via Marina, the choice is, from a legal perspective, we have the right to be in either of those two streets as long as we comply with other rules and regulations, and in this case, compliance with CEQA. And what CEQA does is it provides this council with all of the information about the potential routes and the potential impacts, and this council, in its discretion, can look at all of that information and choose which route is the best after considering all of the factors that have been presented to it. It doesn't have to be the less environmentally impactful. It just has to be the consensus of the council that this is the best route for the city, taking into consideration all of the potential impacts and all of the mitigation that would be done by the city to mitigate those impacts.
And also know that Marina Del Rey, folks, is going through a redevelopment stage, and if you look at some of the maps and think that some of these projects will actually happen, they obviously will need the opportunity to go into a sewer system that can effectively handle their waste. So as we do the obvious development, Santa Monica has a route through Santa Monica for obvious reasons, and it goes all the way up the coast. So I appreciate your support on this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. There's no other speakers on the queue, so with that we have the report before us, and the motion's made by Mr. Rosendahl. Please open the roll on that. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you very much. Send that forthwith without objection.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item, please.
Item 25, called special by Councilmember Smith.
All right, Mr. Smith, item 25?
I have my questions answered. We can go ahead and vote on it.
Okay, let's go ahead and prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item 29, called
I'm
special.
sorry, actually, before 29, 31, if I can make an amendment, I think Mr. Alicorn's concern will be addressed with that, to change the meeting time for the Jobs Committee to Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Oh, no? Okay, there's been breaking news, so let's wait on that and hold that on the table. Item 29 we'll take up next. We do have cards on 29. Zuma Dog, are you here? Dr. Clyde Williams, if you'd like to come forward on item 29. Okay, he waves. Anybody from the council wish to be heard on item 29? If not, let's go ahead and please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That Prop 245 assertion passes, and we will send that forthwith, and that is now under our jurisdiction in Council District 2. Item 31, please. Okay. We'll move it as is. I think we're going to work to amend in the future, so item 31, if we can prepare the roll. And actually, sorry, we do have, did this have a hearing?
No, Mr. President, this was a
I'm
resolution.
sorry, could I come forward on item 31? And Zuma Dog is not here.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Barrett Road, El Sereno, Northeast LA. The agendas, the schedules. One of the things that I have seen over the last year and a half is anything that comes after 8:30 has a problem on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays because it interferes with the city council meeting. So I'd highly recommend that either you put all pre-council meetings at 8:30 or after 12. There's a lot of hours available, and I have seen too many times in the morning sessions of committees that there is no quorum during the public comment periods, which usually comes at the end. So if you're going to hold them before the city council meetings, I would highly recommend that the city attorney investigates whether you have to have a quorum in a committee in order to have public comments, because I've seen a lot of times when there's only one council person left, everybody else has gone to council meeting, and the public doesn't get to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. And just, I think as a matter of record, Mr. City Attorney, when we don't have quorum in committee, that does not constitute public hearing, and we have to have that here, and that's the practice? That's correct. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. We'll make sure to continue to enforce that. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote. Oh, we had a late breaking card. Donna Pearman, would you like to speak on this in Van Nuys? Ms. Pearman?
Oh, yeah.
Come on forward.
Okay, anyway, yes, I do hope you have these committees. I'm hoping to speak on the Transportation Committee on all the problems over there on the bus. But I just want to say, lastly, I mean to be off topic, but am I still there? Okay. Anyway, that I don't think that think we need politician reform, not city employee reform, pension reform, and I don't think that the people who are unemployed should be speaking on this. Thank you. That's all I need to say.
All righty. And let's go ahead and tabulate the vote on that.
13 ayes.
All right. That is approved. Next order of business, please.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Alarcon requests to be excused to arrive at 1 p.m. for tomorrow's meeting for city business that meets council policy.
All right. He's excused to arrive at 1 p.m.
Councilmember Garcetti requests to be excused Friday, January 15th to leave at 11:45 for personal business. A motion is required.
All right. Ms. Perry will move, and Mr. Zion seconds. Without objection, that will be granted.
And Councilmember Smith requests to be excused March 2nd and 3rd for city business. That meets council policy.
All right. He is excused as well.
That clears the desk.
All right, colleagues, any announcements? Committee meetings? Yes, Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to take this opportunity. This past week, I was working with the Executive Board of the National League of Cities. And in these discussions, I want to just keep it very general, what became clear is that California is one of the hardest hit states when it comes to budget deficits and budget cuts. On the Executive Board, I get to work with different mayors and council members. We represent about 14,000 cities. And as an association, we are looking at ways in which we can work directly with the federal government to deal with some of our baseline services, our police, our fire, our social services. But we're all in this together. Every state that has taken funds from the federal government, it's unfortunate, but much of it does not make itself felt at the city level. So we're trying to develop different strategies and how we work with the creation of jobs. So I want to thank my colleagues who are involved with the National League of Cities. It was a very important meeting. We spoke with White House representatives. We're working in different areas of President Obama's administration, and they are trying their best to figure out how to get some money to our streets. So I look forward with our colleagues and working the different initiatives here in council, and it behooves us to try to demonstrate the path of least resistance and the clearest approach in developing these strategies. So I just want to share that with my colleagues.
And thank you, Ed, for representing all of the people of Los Angeles as well as our cities on that board of the National League of Cities, and appreciate your service. In that vein, colleagues, I hope you'll join me in wishing Mr. Reyes a very happy birthday that passed yesterday as well. Another year, another great year. We wish you a great 2010. So, any other announcements, colleagues? Mr. Parks.
I would just like to announce that historically the Budget and Finance Committee, before the budget process starts, goes out into the community, and there are going to be 4 meetings that will be on the budget on the road. January 25th, CD6 is going to host a meeting at Van Nuys City Hall. On February the 22nd, CD5 will host a meeting at Hamilton High School. And on March the 8th, CD14 will host a meeting at the El Sereno Recreation Center. And on March 22nd, CD9 will host a meeting at the Constituent Center City Hall on South Central. So those are the 4 meetings that are scheduled.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parks. Mr. LaBonge?
Mr. Parks, could the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment be notified so they push those neighborhood councils to that meeting so they can have the input? Yeah, that'd be good.
Thank you. If there are no other announcements, can I ask everybody to please rise for adjourning motions? If I can ask everybody in council chambers to please rise for adjourning motions. And Mr. Rosendahl.
I stand in memory of Carol Berman, who just passed away Saturday on January 9th. And in fact, we got the word late in the afternoon, and we had a very quick memorial the next day. But there'll be a more public memorial, and we will be announced in the next few days. Carol Berman came to Venice in the early 1960s. As the 60s progressed and became more political, Carol was an activist in the Free Venice movement, including the Venice Survival Committee and the Free Venice Theater Group, which put on plays at the Venice Pavilion. Carol was one of the last of the leaders of the 60s movement in Venice. She was a founder of the Free Venice Beachhead, where she wrote under the byline Carol Fondeller. Nearly every issue since 1968 has borne her imprint. She served on the Beachhead Collective more times and longer than any other person. In fact, we went over Jim Smith's house, who is the publisher of it, to have a quick memorial and to reflect on her life. Carol was involved in every aspect of her adopted city. She was arrested several times for standing up for free speech, including the right to distribute flyers on the Oceanfront Walk. She once ran on the Peace and Freedom Party ticket against Tom Hayden for State Assembly. A couple of years ago, Carol was crowned Queen of Venice by her friends. In fact, I gave her a certificate that we all signed here, folks. She said she had mixed feelings about the monarchy, but accepted the title in deference to her friends. The issue dearest to her heart was low-income housing. Carol believed that poor people have the right to live in decent homes near the beach. For several years, she served on the Housing and Urban Development Committee for Low-Income Housing. In fact, she lived at 5 Rose Avenue, which is a structure there right on the beach, and she was found dead in her room by one of her neighbors on Saturday. Carol was appointed by Councilmember Ruth Galanter to a committee to review the development proposals for Venice. Carol succeeded in reducing the size of buildings throughout Venice and was able to have low-income housing included in many projects. She was also instrumental in stopping other developments she believed were unsuited for Venice. Carol passed away Saturday in her Venice apartment. Her cause of death is unknown at this time, but Carol has been in poor health for the last several years. At the time of her death, Carol was working on an article on preserving low-income housing at the Holiday Venice Apartments in Oakwood. There are plans being worked on right now, and we'll let you know when there will be the memorial service. One of my personal joyous moments was we had a big public meeting on the Oceanfront Walk and on getting the ordinance right. It was a very contentious meeting. I mean, there was a lot of anger, frustration in the room. Carol got up, and she was a comic. She started singing, making some laughing, and everybody in the room roared and laughed. So she had a sense of humor even in the midst of issues that were very serious. And may she rest in peace.
Thank you very much.
I have another adjourning motion. My colleague in the city that is in the heart of my district, which is the city of Santa Monica, the mayor passed away. His name is Ken Genzer. You might have seen the obituary in the paper. In fact, just a couple of months ago, I sat with Ken, because we have lots of problems in L.A. over the Santa Monica airport, and he was very receptive for the discussion and the conversations on it. And I noticed for years, I've known him for over 20 years, he had all kinds of health issues, but he never, ever let on that he had problems. Sometimes he could barely walk, and he was an amazing man. He was an inspiration to us all. Mayor Ken Genzer was born on November 18th, 1950 in Los Angeles and graduated from Englewood High and UC Berkeley. He was a champion for the quality of life in Santa Monica. Ken was well respected for his fierce intellect, compassion for people, and progressive social policy. Ken became active in politics when the Federal Housing and Urban Development Agency unveiled plans to alter the historic Sea Castle residence on the Santa Monica shore where Genzer lived at the time. As a lifetime Santa Monica resident, Ken began his 30-year career serving the public through appointments to the city task force of revision of housing elements and was chair of the Goals and Policy Subcommittee from 1980 to 1982. He was a founding member of the Community Corporation of Santa Monica, serving from 1982 to 1988. He was appointed as a planning commissioner from 1983 to 1985. Ken served on the board as a member of the Santa Monica Pier Restoration Corporation from 1985 to 1988. Mayor Ken Genzer served on the City of Santa Monica's council for 21 years since 1988. He was elected mayor 3 times by his fellow council members, and Ken was also obviously mayor pro temp. He lived on issues ranging from affordable housing and tenant protection, land use and zoning policies, to environmental quality, workers' rights, parks, public safety, and funding for the local schools. Ken was known by his colleagues on the council for his intellect, his bulldog tenacity, and his compassionate spirit. Mayor Ken Genzer passed away peacefully of complications from a long illness on January 9, 2010, with family and close friends by his side. He was 59 years old. Ken is survived by his sister, his mother, and his niece. Once memorial service arrangements are made, details will be released. The City of Santa Monica is not holding its council meeting tonight in memory of him, from really on behalf of the whole city of Los Angeles, I want to say to the great city of Santa Monica that we're sorry you lost such a great leader.
We'll put all members on that. Thank you very much, Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Zine?
Thank you, Mr. President. Harold Dale Berquist passed away January 5th, born June 2nd, 1918 in Nebraska. He was a boy growing up with poppies, a passion which inspired him to eventually start his own nursery business. Fought in World War II, serving as a sergeant in the Army and fighting in the historic Battle of the Bulge. Was awarded the Bronze Star for his bravery and meritorious service. After the war, he came to California on maneuvers, believed in doing what he loved, so in 1946 he launched Green Thumb Nursery in Canoga Park, sharing his passion for plants and gardening in the San Fernando Valley. Also loved roses, golf, travel, and the Boy Scouts. Always generous, he was a charter member of the Rotary Club of Canoga Park, serving as our president in 1964. Rotary helped find funding to build the Northridge Hospital. Been married to Vera Mae Berquist for 50 years before her passing in 1992. Peacefully passed away January 5th in West Hills at the age of 91. Married Lila in 1994. She survives him at their family home. Survived by 4 children, Bud, Nancy, Steve, and Susie. He's a treasured grandfather of 11 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. May he rest in peace, Harold Dale Berquist.
Thank you. Mr. Kretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to adjourn in memory of Meep Gies, the heroic woman who risked her life to smuggle in food and provisions and news from the outside into the attic where Anne Frank, her family, and 4 others hid from the Nazis for 2 years. She died this week at 100 years of age. She was born February 15, 1909, into a German Roman Catholic family in Vienna. By the outbreak of the Second World War, she was working as an assistant to Otto Frank, the Jewish owner of a manufacturing company in Amsterdam. When it became clear the Franks needed to go into hiding, Otto Frank asked her for help, and she risked her life to provide that help. Tragically, after 2 years of hiding in the attic, the 8 were discovered and taken to concentration camps by the Nazis. But when the attic was deserted, Ms. Gies collected the papers left behind by young Anne that would later be given to Otto Frank and eventually published as the Diary of Anne Frank. The diary became the second best-selling nonfiction book in the world, second only to the Bible. Ms. Gies should be remembered for her unflappable courage in the face of the greatest of evils of our time.
Thank you. We'll put all members on that as well. Thank you. Any other adjourning motions, colleagues? If not, we'll be in session tomorrow. Announcement, of course, is we're going to be addressing medical marijuana dispensary issue again. That will be the sole focus of tomorrow's meeting. We'll be back in session tomorrow at 10 a.m. here in the John Farrell Council Chambers. Have a great day, great evening, and we'll see you tomorrow. This meeting of the Los Angeles City Council is hereby adjourned.